and of course our ever so lovely guest Zoo, as we are looking to break it in with a very spicy matchup of 100 Thieves Next in Team Ambition.
Yes, yes. Hello. Hello, everyone. We're here. We're finally ready for more Proving Grounds action. And
I know, it's been a long
way
time
too
coming.
long. It's been like 3 months now. But
Three
Ugh,
whole
geez.
months.
we're back. Oh, God, yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah, same here. And I mean, when we're looking at these squads here, man, I mean, we got some new faces over here from the side of Team Ambition, new challengers on the block, and then we've also got 100 Thieves Nets, a team that has found success time and time again inside of the amateur scene. They both made their way through the open qualifier to get in here. They are both inside of Group A, and yeah, to see exactly what they go into, I want to go ahead and start this off real quick by talking about how these two teams are looking against one another, and there's some spicy picks that kind of get put up between these two teams, more so on Team Ambition.
Yeah, Team Ambition has some very interesting stuff going on. So, in case you missed it, the past couple of days, all of these teams did qualify for this tournament in the open qualifiers, and Team Ambition did so by playing a lot of assassins. They played a whole lot of Zed, a whole lot of Talon, mostly from the jungle, from their jungler Anti. So, some really interesting stuff. The Olaf as well thrown in there for this player. Super aggressive, very physical damage focused player, and coming into this game, 100 Thieves are the first seed, but I kind of want to see more of that. They seem very comfortable on it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Their picks are insane. Like they have, I think at one point, I believe their first game they had a Talon Zed 2v2 mid jungle.
Yep.
If that isn't gung ho, then I don't know what is, man.
Yeah, but we were talking about this before the stream goes live and whatnot, talking about how gung-ho this could possibly be. And Zoo, you were looking across the pond and you said, all right, well, hold on, they're going against 100 Thieves Nets tier. And some of the things they were doing, you talk about that Talon Zed, there was some other things that you were looking at that you were like, hold on one moment, hold on, pause real quick. Oh, you did what now?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I saw when looking at Team Ambition was their fact that they really like to play range supports, enchanter supports with Chukis. He's definitely one of the standout players on that team. However, they usually don't complement it the very best. So they had 3 situations with range supports where 2 of them looked pretty bad. They had a Syndra Karma bot lane, and then they had a Jhin Karma bot lane, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. But then when they had really good success is when they go for something like a Caitlyn Morgana on blue side. So just trying to make sure that their champions like thematically fit together and so they can have a cohesive game plan. And if they're able to do so, kind of pick like a traditional attack speed AD with something like a Karma, Morgana, maybe even Seraphine I've seen a few times in this tournament. Maybe they can go for a push bot lane and have a point of contention versus 100 Thieves Next.
I don't know if you guys have heard, but attack speed bot laner's pretty good right now with the new lethal tempo. Not nerfed yet. So, yeah, I fully agree. I definitely want to see some more of that. The Caitlyn with lethal tempo as well is a big one. I think that champion had the highest presence in the entire OQ just because of how well she uses that rune. So, definitely one to look out for here in this bottom lane. Hopefully, for Team Ambition, they can get their hands on that. But, 100 Thieves probably know this is going to happen. They have every opportunity to ban that one away.
Yeah, to speak on that, 100 Thieves coming into this off of the open qualifiers, only team to be undefeated going throughout the open qualifiers, got that 5-0 record. And this is very scary for a team like Team Ambition because we talked about some of the issues they had. And stylistically, 100 Thieves Nets, they seem like a squad that could have a majority of the answers to anything they want to throw their way.
It seems like their only weakness is power outages. But even then, they've got Sword in the wings ready. Maybe he can role swap to another role in case another player decides to have a power outage as well. That guy is just able to do everything coming straight out of Academy. But yeah, here's an example of 100 Thieves and how dominant they actually are able to be. They've got this marksman composition. They've got Sniper playing one of his signature bruisers up there and everything firing on all cylinders. Although if you do take a look at the damage chart, you'll notice a big spike in that mid lane here. Like I was saying, Sword looking pretty solid. We're assuming that Insanity is going to be back for today, but either way, man, this Corki pick has got to be stopped.
Not bad for 4 months off from mid lane,
Yeah.
right? So definitely a good showing from him. But we do have Insanity coming back in, who was styling on everybody inside of day one. He felt like he had all the right moves to all these ganks that we saw. Going through and looking at some of the clips, you saw people try to target him inside of some of those ganks, and it just didn't end up working out. But talking about it, I mean, it's not just that Maryville game, right? We got to see 100 Thieves show dominance in many different ways throughout the open qualifiers. So you were looking at possibly some of the picks that 100 Thieves Nets could bring into this that could be very pivotal to finding the kink in the armor, well, loose armor to Ambition is, as they're a team that likes to just go in.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely a set of champions that work well for 100 Thieves next. It's definitely a bit of an interesting dynamic. You know, Array is somebody, if you look at his teams historically, he's a player that's always kind of been played around. Now, he certainly has the capability of playing weak side, but traditionally he's been the hard carry on his amateur and collegiate teams. However, in this sort of team, you definitely see Fnatic prioritizing, playing through mid top and playing around sniper, especially when he's playing on champs that don't get free 1v1 push, like the Renekton Jace matchup that we saw versus Maryville. So, in situations like this, I think that the one time where 100 Thieves really got themselves in trouble was a situation where they're playing Jinx versus three champs that outrange her. And in that situation, when you aren't necessarily helping your bot laner get the push that he needs, and then your support's roaming a lot into mid, sometimes at inopportune times, then you find this situation where Array is kind of catching sides on his own with a champ that's really squishy. It gives Maryville ways to get back into the game, and then you saw around Baron, it was really hard for them to close out the game against champs like Victor, Jace, Jhin, and all of that. But when you put Array on champs like the Jhin in particular, or even the Ezreal he played versus Golden Guardians Academy, he's able to be a lot more free flowing, kind of follow up his team, let Sniper, Insanity, and Fnatic kind of take the reins and just kind of follow suit. And he's a consistent enough player to make that happen.
Yeah, he might not get outranged in this particular matchup because he's going to be against assassins, but it's still going to be a problem for him to try to maneuver those team fights.
Yeah,
So,
the thresh lanes work very well for them as well. So if you can find himself within a Jinx or an Aphelios with a thresh versus maybe the things like the Zed, it's going to be really difficult for them to get on Array.
See that. And talking about these assassins and all these crazy picks that could possibly come up, we've mentioned Insanity, we talked about Sword briefly as well. I really want to kind of hone in on this mid jungle, this 2v2 that we could possibly see, because when you got this jungler that wants to hard carry, and then over on the other side you got people like Insanity, Fnatic, you gotta look at this matchup inside the mid lane. Smats, I'm going to start with you here. This mid jungle matchup, how are you feeling about it going in this 2v2?
Well, Insanity, he took the yesterday off to recharge, unplug, if you will, and I feel like he's gonna be pretty prepared to whoop some butt here in this game. I don't know if you guys got to watch the first two games that Insanity played with this team, but that was some filthy gameplay right there. The Victor clip that I saw right there, where he dodged like 4 different skill shots, all coming directly at him in this gank, and still made it out alive, topping the damage charts in both of those games. I think Insanity is going to be one of the strongest performing players of this entire tournament. So if you can see some of these guys on Team Ambition start to attack this player, maybe with those assassins, maybe with the Zed, the Talon, it's definitely out of left field, but it could be the thing that you need to take down a player like Insanity. If they can do that, then I think it does give them a pretty big edge. But it's definitely going to be hard if you saw him play on Monday.
It's a rough thing. And Sue, I would be very curious to hear what you have to say in regards to it, just because the matchup going in here, you were saying some things, you were looking at it, and you're like, Talon Zed, I don't know about that in a mid 2v2, but let's see what kind of interesting things they have to spice things up.
Yeah, when you look at teams traditionally that play through their jungler, which you can argue that Team Ambition does, these are teams that usually prioritize lanes that get heavy push. And, the laners are usually have to be a lot more aware of their wave state and tracking enemy jungler, so they can be a bit more independent in their wave management. Now, the problem with Team Ambition is that they get themselves into situations where they have matchups that either should push and they're not, For example, flexing Syndra into bot lane with Karma, or they have situations where, maybe their jungle tracking isn't the best. So if you look at a team like Rogue, for example, what really set up Inspired for success was having, all three of his laners being able to draft for hard prio and giving him the space to make things happen. The problem when you're playing versus a team like 100 Thieves Next, when they have quite strong laners, not only that, but also the teleport changes impacted the way you can affect each other's lanes. It's really incentivized just stronger laning. It's incentivized mid push, especially because that's the main catalyst to make things happen. And, with the mid push and a strong laner like someone like Insanity, I don't really see Ambition being able to run a double mage bot lane and being able to consistently push. And I don't really think that they're low econ topside versus something like a Sniper Aatrox pick or a Jace pick or an Aurelia pick or a Renekton pick. I don't think it's going to be very safe from the potential 1v3s that it's going to have to face.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I think that it could be a very spicy thing to see, though, man. I really want to see a Talon jungle or the Zed mix up. I really want to see it work. I think that would be just absolutely fun to see. When I saw Team Ambition, I was just like, yo, hold on, they want to build this superstar jungler up, anticipation to come in there and clap. But it's going to be hard. 100 Thieves Nets is the raid boss inside of the Group A, I feel like. You get that right when you go 5-0. And there's a lot of hype between each and every single one of these players coming in here. And it's so big to see. And we talked about it a little bit. I want to kind of go back over to the top side of the map real quick, because we were talking about it a little bit. We get to see Sniper just get the pop off here is another thing that could possibly be something to keep our eyes out on, especially because you look across the pond, got a traditional kind of chunky weak side top laner.
We have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in top lane, right? We've got Sniper. He's only played Bruiser so far. Decoy has only played Tank so far. I think it's definitely going to be a situation of strong side versus weak side. So Decoy better be ready for some tough times ahead.
I think that's very fair to say. With that being said, we do have a graphic to be able to show everybody. We got our caster predictions to be able to show up so we can see how our colleagues are voting, possibly flame them if we so choose. As we do get to see, first and foremost, everybody's got 100 Thieves GGA for the first 2 rounds here. And
that
then it gets mixed up.
I agree with Kenobi here. I'm fully aligned with Kenobi. I think he's the only person who's got base state, and I think NFT is really good as well, or No Team as is their full name. Kenobi, big ups to you. I think you're going to be right.
Yeah, I'm going with a majority of everybody else who has NFT. That's me. I'm going with but I got wild card at the end, so that's where I'm at. I got a little bit of faith there in regards to that wild card roster coming in and grabbing themselves a good spot for themselves. So I think they have a good showing ahead of themselves. So it looks like it's going to be a good match up here. That being said, we are getting ready to go into game. So our lovely casters, Dia and Rudude, go ahead and take it on away.
Hello. Thank you so much for the toss, Travesty. I very much enjoyed the desk. And Rudude, I'm going to enjoy casting alongside you for this next best of 3. We've been hyping this up all day. We've been thinking about it for weeks on end now, what the matchup was going to be on the very first day of the groups. And 100 Thieves Next versus Team Ambition is definitely a promising one. Most notably is our desk highlighted from that jungle position, a matchup that you and I are both very, very keen on.
We're both obviously going to be looking at the mid jungle to see whether or not and who can come out on top. Coming into this one, it's obviously, as we've seen from caster predictions, from just who was able to go undefeated in the tournament, we're very clear on who we think is going to be coming away with the win here. 100 Thieves Next are the outright favourites. But as we've said, if there is anywhere that Team Ambition are going to be able to win through, it is that mid-jungle duo, right? To talk quickly on the teams and the players, rather, that we've seen anticipation, the jungler for Team Ambition play. 2 Talon games, 2 Zed games, and an Olaf game. This is a carry jungler through and through. We're seeing typically these trades of Jarvan and Xin Zhao. No thank you, he doesn't want any part of that. He wants to be the carry, and he wants to be the one making the plays for the squad.
It makes me very excited to know that we've got a jungler like that that's willing to pull things out of the ether and sort of go, yeah, well, I'm going to play this even though nobody else is right now, or especially since third party was eliminated. One of our other teams in the open qualifier that was enjoying, I will say, the more volatile junglers. And alongside him, I think it's worth noting that Nemesis is also comfortable with this, the mid laner for Team Ambition. And if we're not looking at the jungle, I think that it's fair that we give quite a bit of credence over to Nemesis, who can flex in a lot of the same champion pools as this jungler can.
Yeah, just in the open qualifiers, these two did share Zed, and as well for Nemesis, he was able to also pull a flex pick with his bot lane, a Nightstar, who pulled a Syndra in the bot lane out, paired that one up with a Karma. So on this blue side here, Team Ambition, you have a little bit of flexibility open to them. But Dia, we've got our first draft ready and underway, and already one of those highly sought after carry-oriented junglers taken away by 100 Thieves. The Olaf off the table to just limit a little bit here of what Anti can get away with.
And the Caitlyn joining it as well makes me happy, mainly because I would prefer that we not get too many Caitlyns coming through today. Very, very oppressive in the bot lane, and so much of this for 100 Thieves is going to come through Array being comfortable in that bot side as well. By eliminating something like the Caitlyn, you do allow him a little bit more space on the weak side. With an Aurelia hitting the ban table from Team Ambition, though, you can tell that they're paying attention up towards General Sniper.
Okay, Hecarim final ban as well, so another aggressive jungler taken off the board. Sniper still has a pick here. Jace is still open. We've seen him play the Renekton a few times. Aatrox has come out as well. There are a lot of these early priority top laners that haven't been taken away from him. We've seen 2 or 3 bans targeted at Sniper throughout the duration here of the open qualifiers, and now with a few open and available, we'll have to wait and see where 100 Thieves next tend to go. With Team Ambition going against a bit of the status quo here. They've picked themselves up the Karma. Chukis has played this in the open qualifiers as well. Took that one down into the bot lane, as we mentioned, with a Syndra in one of their matches. So could well also be flexed into the mid lane. And for 100 Thieves next here, if this Jhin does get locked on in, I'm going to be incredibly happy to see that, because the couple games that we saw of 100 Thieves when Jhin was piloted by Array, we got to see a lot. Okay, last minute switch, but that's okay. So we'll take a little bit of a step back. The Nautilus coming through just offers you great engage, offers you great follow-up, and limits hyper carries coming through for Team Ambition, right? You're still likely to see something like the Aphelios come through. We've still got something like that Jhin available as well that Team Ambition could potentially take away. But with Nautilus on the board, it opens up Dombre to roaming, opens up this 100 Thieves next squad to carry on that top side. The Jhin getting locked on in. I just can't wait to see what they're going to do, because all of these picks so far focusing up toward that top lane, even though they haven't picked anything for it yet.
Yeah, you touched on something so important to the 100 Thieves identity right there, and that was Dombre being unlocked in the bot lane. With the Nautilus, I mean, we've seen him do it before, and I'm sure that we'll see him do it again, but so much of this squad's comfortability does leave Array relatively comfortable on his own, so that Dombre can walk around and pack the rest of the map. However, with a Syndra locked in alongside that Karma, something that you and I were both thinking of and that you called out mere seconds ago, it's going to be a lot harder for a Jhin to survive on his own, because Syndra is good for a lot of things, but one of the things that she is best at is deleting enemy carries.
Yes, and if this does end up going down into the bot lane, we got it, dear. Talon locked on forward, and this is going to be undoubtedly going into Anti's hands. It's been piloted by him twice so far in the open qualifiers. Gets his hand on it here in the first game of this best of 3. And if you wanted aggressive mid jungle 2v2, nothing speaks to you more than a Talon Syndra as that lethal powerhouse to try and find leads with.
I will say, as much as I hoped for it, I didn't expect the Talon this quickly, or even in game 1 at all. What I expected from Team Ambition was that they would take a little bit more time, play a little bit safer, and then pull out all the stops in game 2 once they knew what they were up against. But this time, they're just going all out against 100 Thieves next, trying to find some sort of way to, with an unexpected strategy, catch 100 Thieves off guard. But I look at the composition, of 100 Thieves Next, and I don't see a whole lot of holes in their defense. If anything, they got a lot of beef already, and with their engage options, the squishies on the side of Team Ambition don't seem too safe to me.
This is a boilerplate Season 12 draft already from 100 Thieves Next right now. Their second round of bans, you can already see, going to be targeted up toward that top lane, getting rid of some of those tanks from decoys, so that if we end up seeing a lot of focus up toward the top side, these dives will be able to come through fairly easily. Still yet to see what sniper will be taking in the top lane. I expect that we see mid pseudo blinded here, unless we just see Jace. You ban out two of one of the, not necessarily tough matchups, but the difficult to kill matchups is the main issue here. And getting the Jace in the top lane here, we know Decoy tends toward those tanks. There's a small chance that he sways away from those, but in the past we've seen him take the Scion, the Ornn, the Mundo. These are all powerful champions that can limit the Jace's capability.
No, we're not. Are we? We are.
Oh.
We are flexing things around. So with a Leona locked in, and now even a Zed hovered, although I hate to pay credence to it, it seems like we're going to be getting something very unexpected from Team Ambition as they too try and find some sort of answer to this
Okay.
Jace. A Yone gets picked up right now, and this is a declaration of war from Team Ambition. This isn't going to be that heavy tank style that I thought that I was going to see from Decoy. He is pulling out something different, and it is the very first game of the group stage.
The old bait and switch. We'll play 5 games of tanks in the top lane only to pull out the Yone in the top lane in the
Got him.
first round of groups. We got him, boys. And of course, this could also be a Karma top. I think this actually fits better with Decoy's play style. We know that the Leona's going to be going into the support role, so yes, the Yone coming through is nice. I think that Karma is just attempting to be that limiting factor onto Sniper. Diving a Karma as well. Not a particularly easy task. Her Mantra Q wave play does do very well, but you're looking at this 100 Thieves Next squad. We've got Array on Jhin, one of those picks that I've talked about and that I've seen in the open qualifiers. Be very safe and independent down in the bot lane. We've got Dombre on this Nautilus, which is so easy to facilitate roams and facilitate these dives. Yes, Karma can clear a wave, but what she can't do is survive for a long amount of time when she's CC'd, stunned up by Dombre. We've got Flag and Drag as well from Fnatic, and if Insanity is able to find mid-priority versus this Yone, there's going to be potentially 4 people in that top lane before you know it, and Karma, a squishy champion, can go down very quickly.
And if there's one thing that I walked away with is set up from our desk just before this, was how impressed Smax was by the Victor from Insanity earlier on in the open qualifiers. This is a champion and a player that we've got to keep our eyes on, and that we already knew about coming into these games. And so even with all of the explosive potential, all of the burst from Team Ambition on the blue side, I look at the red side and I am not by any means convinced, because you've got signature champion after signature champion from the open qualifiers locked in for 100 Thieves Next. This is a composition that they are comfortable with, and it is going to take a mountainous effort from Team Ambition, even with all of this damage that they have, to eliminate more than one member of 100 Thieves in the course of a team fight.
Yes, the onus on Team Ambition here is to try and find those early skirmishes, try and get those leads and start generating gold fairly early on. Obviously, they've got the late game scaling of a Yone, but outside of that, Syndra can delete one target, but her team fighting capabilities, when compared to a Victor, not quite up to the same standard. Talent as well, again, incredibly good at being a slippery, mobile champion that can cause distraction, and again, potentially eviscerate one target, but there still needs to be a lot more given in those late game team fights, and that's where we're really going to be fading this 100 Thieves Next squad. They've also got a really good amount of poke coming through, the likes of Curtain Call, the Shock Blast coming through from Sniper, these siege situations setting up around objectives. You can already imagine Team Ambition now going to be needing to look for those flanks, those unique angles where Nemesis can come in on one side, Fate sealed from one angle, anticipation as well, with that talent that you can just traverse terrain with, cheat out on vision essentially. If you're able to sneak around the enemies, the flank angles for Team Ambition going to be very crucial, and if they get to a really good point where they've got this lead through the early game, that's going to be the key, that's going to be the signature, because if they fall behind in these early stages, dear, those objectives are just going to be falling into 100 Thieves Next hands time and time again, and there's going to be very little that Team Ambition can answer with.
Well, we arrive on the Rift again for the very first time today. I say it. We've got 100 Thieves Next versus Team Ambition, and if you missed the draft, well, I'm glad that you've made it here now, because we are going to get one heck of a game. One of the things that I was thinking about as we were loading in here was also the potential for the early game to go in the favor of Team Ambition. One of the things that you were alluding to earlier, because we take a look at their draft, and I mean, well, we do have things like the Jace, like the Victor on the other side of it. You still got Karma, Yone, and Syndra in your lanes. And one of the things that Zoo talked about quite a bit was needing to have pushing lanes in order to bolster Anti's playstyle and keep him on the front foot as an aggressive jungler. Do you think that they've actually managed to achieve that in the face of things like the Jace, the Victor, and the Jhin?
I'm certainly hoping that the Yone in particular can find a push, because Insanity on this Victor, typically a fairly weak champion. He does very well at going even, but generating leads early on, not something that he can go for. So the mid jungle in particular is somewhere that Team Ambition could look to focus through this Yone. With that Q3, you can start to push that wave on out. In the top lane as well, it is going to be fairly hard to try and find priority versus this Jace. If you're using your spells on the wave, it means you're not using your spells on the champion, and that's when Sniper can really start to go to town and try to punish Decoy here, because as well as all that, we have to add in a slight familiarity aspect of this. We haven't seen Decoy and the champion, and he may well be the Karma God, but we have to see that proven here, because it's not a pick that we've seen from him before. And as we would expect with these two junglers as well, they're going to be starting on their blue buffs respectively. 100 Thieves jungler Fnatic pathing up towards that top side to support Sniper, and we're going to have Anti focusing on his bot side here, leaving Decoy to be that solo isolated member in the top side of the map.
Going to give a lot of free push, at least initially, over to Nightstar and Chookies, especially with the Leona Syndra. It's a potent lockdown that does come through at that level 2 if they can achieve it first. Array and Dawnbray clearing out some vision alongside with this Nautilus are trying to contest this as much as they possibly can. And yet, and ever yet, Rooted, we have to wait to find out exactly how that one's going to go, because even early on into this game, the bot lane is already fraught with tension, and it's one of the only ones that I see is a real place for these junglers to go quite early on. With Anti starting up towards the top side on the blue buff, I see a lot of potential for him to be able to come down and make the most of the Leona Syndra stun combo.
So do I. They've got obviously a fair whack of CC in there, and then Talon just loves having set up from his laners. You're able to find that passive bleed. You can just one-shot this Jhin in the early stages of the game. You can see Array and Dawnbray, they're fighting for priority as well, and there's going to be that little bit of communication between Fnatic and Sniper up on the top side as, Jace, do you particularly need me right now? If we spend time trying to dive, we'll be able to get you enough of a lead to maybe sacrifice what's going to be happening down on that bot side. The alternative for that is, of course, that Array and Dawnbray are just trying to force their wave in one of the open qualifier games that they had. We saw actually Dawnbray find an early recall, Array doing the same thing and finding this cheater reset after the third wave and going back to base, sort of cheating out on that timing of the jungler trying to come and gank you because you've already pushed the wave and you've already left. So again, these simple mechanics of the bot lane that they're trying to execute on can come through, obviously. Trying to stack a wave versus a Syndra, one of her priorities and one of her leading skills as a bot lane player or bot lane champion as opposed to those ADCs, is stacking a wave versus her. Not too easy because her wave clear early on, probably the best out of most bot laners.
Oh, you got me thinking again, Dude, about the possibilities latent in this top side as well. I know we saw Karma, and from the moment that I saw the Karma locked in, everybody, even the enemy team, kind of goes, all right, well, I guess we won't really do anything about that. But you've just reminded me that we are still quite early on in this game. Karma for Decoy is still quite squishy, and we've got Sniper up against Decoy, and Sniper, definitely one of the most hyped pickups of the off season, has me looking up there to see if he can make something out of this Jace Karma matchup with the wave management that we already know is important in the bot lane, but is even more so in the top lane.
Yeah, Sniper, as said by the 100 Thieves organization, their biggest pickup of the off-season. This young upcoming prodigy of top lane, touted to potentially be one of the best top laners that the NA has ever provided, going into the LCS hopefully at some later stage in his career. There are a lot of eyes on Sniper to see how well he can perform. Just turning 16 to put him at the age where he can compete, 15, excuse me, where he can compete in this tournament is exactly the sort of pressure as well that will be on his shoulders to see whether or not he's living up to the hype here. The first group stage game got himself on his patented Jace, and we've already got this wave, that wave manipulation you were talking about, starting to stack on up. Fnatic not quite in position to go for any of these dives, but already got a lot of priority here, and we were talking about how well these junglers will be able to match up against one another when this top lane isn't going quite so favorably for Decoy, already down a wave in farm. You can see that Anti more than happy to move his way down here, or down onto the bot side, and keep himself nice and far away from this scary Jace.
Exactly. It's all about, you know, setting yourself up for success, especially on that Talon. I like that he did pay attention to the bot side, even tried to go for a small invade, but unfortunately not too much to be found. Fnatic has cleared this out, and that's the kind of experience that you get with a jungler like Fnatic on your side. 100 Thieves Next definitely benefited from that, and Fnatic is somebody that, even since OQs, has been a silent yet crucial part of the team, because I look at this roster and the name, despite familiarity, doesn't bounce out at me as one that is going to warp game states around him and is going to become, I don't know, 10-0 at the 10-minute mark. It isn't that kind of jungler. Fnatic has so often been the kind of jungler that will mind control you and that will get his lanes ahead, and he's looking to do so right now. Paying attention to this bot side. He does get spotted out by the minion, unfortunately, but already a gank attempted. We'll see which one comes through next.
Yeah, and already these pings on the minimap as well. You're talking about this mastermind sort of general status that Fnatic's taking. Immediately, he's walked his way down to the bot side. I see pings on the minimap into exactly where Anticipation is sat. Sat there in his wolf camp. Scared pings. Okay, be careful. Talon's going to be right here. He's got a window of opportunity right now to make a play happen. And in this mid lane, Nemesis not having the best of times. Insanity has done a very good job here at bullying out the Yone. But if this Talon tries to get in range here, you can see him just lurking on this Raptor camp. There's a chance here for a play. Insanity not level 6 and fairly low on mana. Certainly going to need to call for some sort of jungle support. And just as we say that, Fnatic sat ready and waiting here. He's going to be spotted out on this ward that Nemesis has placed over the wall. I don't think that is going to be seen either. So Fnatic here operating under a little bit of misinformation that maybe he wasn't spotted. It just got swept right at the very end.
That's actually really tragic for Fnatic, but so good for Team Ambition. Zoo talked about earlier the fact that Team Ambition did need to have this great vision to be able to track the junglers, especially on somebody like Fnatic, who can be the catalyst for the rest of his team. And even with that small little play there, just threatening the gank onto Insanity, already turns into a cascade of information going in the favor of Team Ambition, and now allowing Anticipation to potentially start on an invade himself, trying to find Fnatic in the jungle. Pops that Scryer's Bloom, and you can see it on your minimap. Fnatic has to pay respect to this, but as does Anticipation, knowing that Teleport was just used in the mid lane.
Yeah, he really needs to be cognizant of where his laners are right now. Decoy would have to go a very long way around or take an absolute ton of harassment to try and help out his Talon on an invade to the Golem. So rightly backs away, recognizes his team's lane states and says, you know what, maybe I don't go for the invade onto the jungle. But here, dear, we're in a sort of 6.5 minutes now into the game. Not a lot of action in terms of kills, of bloodbath that we've seen from early stages, and we are starting to see a little bit of a class of 100 Thieves. They are mounting CS leads just over in that top lane as Dombre already out of his lane for Nemesis.
Just walking in, but ooh, Lord the Hook going wide, and then the Fate Seal changes things for Dombre as he flashes away. He still gets ignited on the way out, and yet will manage to survive. With both supports and the jungler of Team Ambition drawn into the mid lane, we still haven't got our first blood yet, Rudude, but it was 100 Thieves Next that was ahead of the play.
They're making us wait here for the first blood of the main stage event right here, the group stage underway. First blood going to have to wait a little bit here, but look at this top lane right now. We get a little glimpse. Fnatic did try and find a little gank onto Decoy unsuccessfully. He's going to lose his bot side jungle as a byproduct of that, but you can see in Decoy's build path here, fitting the trend of what we expected of Decoy here. He's going to be playing that supportive role. Now looking at Dombre here, he doesn't want to be giving over too many objectives, too many camps, and just that little bit of presence saves Fnatic's Gromp. He's already on his way down here to make sure that he can keep the gold cycling, but the Bandle Glass Mirror in the inventory for Decoy. This is hardcore support build for the Karma. You're not going to see anything like the Shattered Queen coming through that crown. It keeps her nice and safe. It is going to be supportive. We're expecting to see the Shirelias here, maybe even a Moonstone if we're feeling particularly susceptible to damage.
Now, one of the small things that I noticed in that small interaction between Dombre and Anti in the jungle is that Anti was forced to use Smite, and it got me thinking, hey, it's about 8 minutes, and we've got Rift Herald and the Dragon up, but interestingly enough, Rooted, we we haven't seen either team opt into that. Instead, going for ganks like this. Fnatic jumping in with the Cataclysm here is going to help his team pick up the first blood, and nicely done for him. Does get his mid laner, Insanity, who is insane on the Victor, quite ahead.
Well, might be even more here.
Nice
Ulti
knock up, and he should be able to get out alive. He is invisible for the time being and does have backup on the way. Next wave gonna crash. 400 Thieves next, but Decoy's on the way down as well. Insanity without a flash is gonna get jumped on by Chookies, and a bunch of damage comes his way with Nightstar picking up a kill and Dawnbray getting executed summarily right after by an Unleashed Power.
2 for nothing then in the mid lane for Team Ambition after capitalizing on the flashless mid laner of Team Ambition. 100 Thieves next get the exact same consequence here. Dawnbray was forced to burn his flash in that skirmish that we saw no kills come from, and both of the flashless members of 100 Thieves next are given over to Team Ambition. A really nice engage from Chuki's, flashing forward, recognizes Insanity has no way out if he's willing to expend that summoner spell, and a slight overextension by the 100 Thieves squad to get them a little bit of a reality check here. Yes, Team Ambition coming into this one as underdogs, but they're not going to be giving up this game freely here. This series is a best of 3, and they want to be making sure that they can keep themselves very much competitive here.
We're neck and neck in terms of the gold, and as we take a short break to check out this replay, let's see how this one ends up going down. Right now, of course, we know that Nemesis falls to a very quick Flash Flag Drag Cataclysm with a lot of damage from Fnatic, but afterwards it was the real thing where we had Nightstar and Chookies roaming all the way up. 100 Thieves next got dragged in quite deep, but they're making another play down here? Nah.
No. 2v2 on this bot side. I mean, the crown did get popped by a deadly flourish, but it's about ready to come back up, and you can tell, right, this is simple League of Legends. With your mythic versus no mythic, you're not the team that are going to be, you are the team that's going to be trying to fight for 100 Thieves next, and a team without a mythic down in the bot lane. Array still looking here for that Gale Force to come through, and the Syndra with that Shattered Queen is going to be absolutely fine in that bot lane. No engages particularly going to go too favorable. I'm interested by this mid lane though, because you can see Insanity is going to have that laser upgrade already, and Nemesis playing incredibly respectfully. We talked about Team Ambition wanting to get things going early.
Nice Fate Seal, but oh lord, it isn't enough. That Cataclysm that instantly came out from Fnatic changed everything, and as Dawnbray gets taken down the bot side, it's only justice that Team Ambition gets something back. But I love the focus with which they are attacking Nemesis in the mid lane, the one place where Team Ambition can scale.
Exactly, this Yone not getting a second to breathe in the mid lane. A really good job by Fnatic once again. This guy has no flash. We're going to keep punishing it time and time again. Positions the flag and drag behind him so that if he tries to use that Fate Shield, he only gets knocked up, and then the Gravity Well does all that was necessary to receive the stun and the kill to come through straight after. And as well as focusing a mid lane, we'll have to keep our eyes. Anticipation.
Got it! Let's go. Alright, I am happy, and well, so is he, at least for the time being. But as he gets jumped on by Sniper and Dawnbray, finding a kill back is still very much a success story. Nemesis is coming over, and no Fate Sealed, no knock-up landing does unfortunately spell the end of the play for Team Ambition. But I keep looking at their plays and going, that feels a little bit unfortunate. But in reality, dude, that's not the case at all. They've still managed to keep themselves even. They've managed to pick up both objectives. These guys are doing great.
Trade positive overall. They managed to steal away the Herald. They get a kill as well. It goes onto their Talon as opposed to the support Karma. Again, top end stuff from Team Ambition to get away with it. They were in a numbers disadvantage as well for the most part. Chuki's a little bit late to the play, not really able to make too much of an impact, but still, Team Ambition are having a whale of a time so far in these early stages of the game. Already have managed to pick themselves up a dragon as well, so this is already a really good showing from them. This Talon that we saw very highly prized by Anticipation has been doing exactly what it needed to. 4 kills out of 4 in terms of the kill participation as well, and that is exactly what he's looking for. 4 people.
Oh lord, this is just so scary. The Cataclysm coming, down seals Chookies in, no flash, no way to escape, but the Eclipse is buying a lot of time as he eventually gets taken down by Insanity, handing this Victor his 3rd kill of the game. 100 Thieves got what they came for and didn't lose that much in the process, Rudude.
didn't lose anything in the process. They even burned Nemesis teleport, which is just going to be icing on top of that cake right now. Any kills and assists you can get on a Victor, this is a point that I was trying to bring up a little bit earlier. Yes, they're focusing down a Yone who has no flash, but they're also accelerating stacks onto Insanity here, getting 25 of those passive stacks every single time you are part of a kill or assist. It means he's got probably the Q, or definitely the Q and the E, and going to be working his way towards that W. And once you've got all three of those upgrades, every ability starts to slow. Your E slows, your Q slows. You're going to be making life very difficult for anyone to A, get away, and B, keep yourself alive.
Speaking of getting away, Nemesis might just have to do that as, holy lord, another 2 abilities come through from Insanity, and he pops back to grab the 25 gold from the Rift Herald. Still does lose several turret plates in the process, though, as those expire in the next 5 seconds. Nemesis had his last chance to be able to pick some of that gold up, and now it is just the thing that is keeping Team Ambition within touching distance of 100 Thieves next. 15 minutes into the game, and we're essentially even, but Array might not feel like it.
Yeah, this is the classic Jin experience for Array right here. He needs to play with this respect. Anticipation can jump over this wall, take him down. Yes, Flash and Cleanser are available, so they may well be put to good use here, but I'm looking at Team Ambition and saying that we need more from them. Remember, their composition thrives in these early skirmishes, not so much as we get later and later into the game. 100 Thieves next are more than happy with trading these objectives. They may even get first turret down in the mid lane before that 3-man band of Team Ambition are able to find anything. So this is, again, really good trading overall on the map, but this time it's in the way of 100 Thieves next, and like you said, the more that this continues to stagnate and be even,
huge teleport up here. Decoy is so low, and this is a foregone conclusion, Rudude. And the teleport from Insanity is much more for security than anything else, as that Karma ends up going down. Decoy knew that everybody could rotate up. He knew that the mid lane tower had just fallen, but Team Ambition, having lost that blanket in the mid lane of the security that the mid lane tower provides, for a moment at the very least, are caught unawares.
First Unleashed teleport then off the game does net a kill here. Post 14 minutes, Insanity looking to leverage his lead around Summoner's Rift. Wasn't even needed for that one, but General Sniper at this stage in the game has more than enough damage, particularly up against a Karma. Again, as we mentioned, not gone for any defensive items here. This is support Karma on a top laner's income, so she's feeling pretty confident about the ability to support people. So far, Decoy hasn't really been a part of any plays that Team Ambition are looking for. I expect that to change, and we can see that with 20 seconds on this Baron spawning. This is exactly the time that Decoy needs to group, and about the best opportunity for Team Ambition to try and take a scrap.
Fnatic has got the Cataclysm once again, but the flashes are up on almost every single member of Team Ambition right now. You've got to find some way to blow those, some way to lock people up in a little bit more of a creative fashion for 100 Thieves. As they surround this river, they're going to find the first engage onto Decoy, the flag, and drag to follow this up with a Fate Sealed in response, and a huge Scatter the Weak changes everything. Array flashes away from the Solar Flare, gets ignited by Chookies, but finally manages to burn the Cleanse, still alive as his team is getting taken down in the river. Or is it General Sniper that's turning things around? He ends up picking up a double kill and changing everything for 100 Thieves.
Oh, he comes in a little late, Sniper, but he makes the impact happen. Anticipation may well fall here to Fnatic. Has 2 levels, doesn't have enough damage though, and it is Fnatic to pick up that kill. 100 Thieves next, they find the fight here. There was a glimmer of hope. We thought that there would be an opportunity that they would take this fight. It starts off with Decoy getting caught with a Nemesis. 3-man Scatter the Weak off the back of that as well. The Solar Flare, milliseconds too late, would have taken Array down instantly and also changed the course of this fight. But it is General Sniper coming in a little later, but still having that impact. Gets a double kill in the play. We know that Anticipation gets taken down off the back of it, and it is those 5v5s that we know are going to be in 100 Thieves' favour that ends up going their way here. Team Ambition not out of possibility just yet. They've still got this really strong mid-game skirmishing style of composition, and when that Gold Drinker comes through for Anti, we're expecting this to be the time, like the peak opportunity really, to take down this 100 Thieves next squad, and they've probably got one more go, dear, and then after that, it becomes really difficult to fight up against this long-range composition that 100 Thieves have got.
Extremely, and so much of this is because Team Ambition have such a focus on being able to burst down one member. But we look across at 100 Thieves, you take down Array, you've still got Insanity and Sniper, and well, if you're being taken down yourself in the river, you've got a whole lot more problems than that. Anti does manage to get away with the second Rift Herald up. 100 Thieves may just go for this, or for him once again, can't get out over the wall this time, and Anti gets taken down for the sin of stepping back into territory that was no longer his.
Yeah, vision control not particularly abundant for Team Ambition here. He needs to try and pair up with Chukis and get in this river together, but
Bait seal of the wall, there we go. Insanity might just be taken down here. Flashes a little bit too little, a little bit too late, and ends up going down, essentially forfeiting the Rift Herald as well, I might add, Radud.
3 people expending their ultimates here. It's worth noting Sniper still has TP, and the TP from the Jace much more impactful than the TP from this Karma. That Herald not going to be started up just yet, dear. Can't be throwing out those accusations when the jungler is dead. So we're going to have to wait and see if there's more priority placed on that. With a minute left before it despawns into the Baron, it may just be both teams saying, hey, you know what? Not this game. We'll come back for a second Rift Herald in game number 2. But for now, we need to sort of see what is next for both of these teams. If it's the Baron starting to spawn on in, we've probably got a couple of minutes before either team tends to put their attention in that area of Summoner's Rift, because it's a very early time to be trying to take that down the big purple worm. For 100 Thieves, would look to see them extend this lead that they've got for themselves, start to control one side of the jungle, steal away some of those jungle camps, and start making Anticipation's life incredibly difficult, because there was a point at the end of that fight that we saw in the river where he actually had a 2-level lead over Fnatic. You can see in the CS as well that he is getting a lot of resources from his team and is currently looking to be one of the leading carries. We've got Nightstar on the Syndra as well, who's done a very good job at keeping himself alive and finding those kills. But if this talent is continuing to find farm, that's going to continually be an issue for 100 Thieves. If they're able to go into a bot side, for example, control the vision around that and start to take down these turrets, that is going to be the sort of key to their success. A lot of gold still standing on Summoner's Rift right now. Only 3 turrets taken total in this game. With one fight here, this game could swing either way very quickly with the amount of gold that's still standing.
Extraordinarily. Interestingly enough, 100 Thieves seem to be sort of nulling all potential for a fight right now by leaving General Sniper and Insanity in their respective side lanes. Insanity was up towards the top side, clearing waves, while Sniper was down towards the bot. And honestly, Radud, I really don't mind it at all, because yes, you're giving quite a bit of gold to somebody like Decoy by pushing waves back and forth, but so much more value is being gotten from gold that goes to both your Jace and your Victors. We've already seen demonstrated in these fights. 100 Thieves, despite the fact that the gold is still within touching distance, 4,000 gold is by no means a game-deciding factor. It's still looking like where they're putting the gold is having much more value, because they don't just have one Nightstare, one Nemesis that they need to dump everything into. They can throw the gold across anybody and have it come out in their favor.
Exactly, you know, even Battle Nautilus could come and start to make a bit of a resurgence here, those Merc Treads. Sorry, I've done you dirty there, dear. And,
I give you an inch, you take a mile, Radud.
Happens to the best of you, unfortunately. But you make a very valid point still, that Fnatic, even on this job, and has gone for a very bruiser-oriented build. And Nightstar, yes, he's got that Crown of the Shattered Queen, but that gets popped. Fnatic honestly has a very real opportunity to take that 1v1 versus the Syndra even, with the build that he's gone for. 2 stopwatches as well.
Another hook from Don Bray. Oh lord, and half healthing instantly Nightstar as well. You've got a big bruiser Jarvan up in the front lines, and just you don't have the numbers, it seems, to contest. As Nemesis finally comes down, you do get an answer back, and it is for now the 1-for-2 in favor of Team Ambition. But 100 Thieves next aren't done just yet. Chookies getting sniped out over the wall by General Sniper is exactly what 100 Thieves needed.
The long-range composition from 100 Thieves, they are able to take damage from, or put out damage from so far away here. Teleport's coming in. 4th shot could be used to try and secure, but I don't think he's going to have it up for when that time comes. Looks like it's going to burn it down immediately, and Nightstar's TP ultimately used in vain. Using the tempo, though, of 100 Thieves trying to find a base, this mid-tier 1 should fall as a consequence, but Insanity may be able to loop back around here. So overall, 100 Thieves coming away, even in the fight, positive on the trade. A bit akin to what we saw 5 minutes ago, really.
Oh my lord, wait a minute. Insanity might just get a kill right here, and he does. The lockdown, just enough for Array to take down Nemesis, and you're right, this can turn into so much more, Rude.
Sniper TP'd in behind, level 15 on this Jace. He takes down Decoy in one fell swoop, picks up the kill, and now with 2 laners off the board, Team Ambition, they have to find an answer to this Baron here. Anticipation has to be looking for his way in. Dombre running point, marking the entrances. Not going to let him in for free here, dear. 4k on the Baron.
Not at all. Nautilus knows it's his job just to auto-attack the Talon, keep him outside of the Baron pit, but Anti goes invisible, and with the Baron going low, he's going to try and jump over the wall. Doesn't quite secure it, though, and as Chookies jumps in after his jungler, he's going to get deleted by a 4th shot from Array. This is 100 Thieves next, at their finest, Baron at their backs, and now the resets to come in.
This is the time now when those economy turrets are going to be so powerful for 100 Thieves next. There are 3 turrets still standing outside the enemy space, and I imagine they're going to go for more than just those. The gold lead sits currently roughly 6,000 gold. Check back in when these turrets have started to take in and when 100 Thieves next have put their full push out onto the rift and see why they can go, what they can accomplish here. Decoy clearing vision on his own. This is the wrong spot to be in, buddy.
He should be gone. Flash from Fnatic, though, does get traded, and Decoy, albeit summonerless, manages to survive for the moment. All in setup for this dragon, the one place where Team Ambition can predict where 100 Thieves will have to be and try and set up some sort of flank, some sort of play to take away a game that is slowly but surely slipping out of Ambition's control.
Nemesis looking to take this top tier 1, and without teleport, this is a sacrifice of the bot side entirely, and when you don't have the Baron here, this is going to be one that, is going to fall very quickly. Sniper at 3.5 items here is absolutely murdering Team Ambition. Look at the armor stacks for the Team Ambition squad. Hint, there is 1 plated steel cap and then the support that is picking up the armor. Everybody else is a simple mat to Sniper right now.
We'll see when that next accelerated shock blast gets thrown out. Little does Decoy know that he could have been taken down in a mere instant right there, but the biggest problem for them isn't Decoy's life, it's the life of their inhibitor tower, and Nemesis going on the offensive is going to try and rectify it. Jumping in, the assassination does come through, but onto Chookies, weirdly enough. And as the stuns just dissuade any additional push from 100 Thieves next, the Baron minions are not going to be so easily dissuaded, continuing to clamp down on Team Ambition, keeping them inside of their base, and their base, it will not be for much longer.
Look at Dombre for the hook here, going to try and search Fnatic.
Decoy already got chunked down, and his Fnatic goes on the engage, tanking up this tower for way too long. Nemesis finds another kill, and then jumps forward onto Insanity, forcing that stopwatch. The flash away as well, but it's not going to be nearly enough to save the victor. 100 Thieves are trying to clap back from so far away, and Nightstar just barely manages to live with a massive shield. Nemesis sidestepping the hook ever so slightly, but 100 Thieves, despite losing 2 members, they don't let up. They never let up, Rude.
Array not even a part of the auto-attacking here, just fires his ulti from across the map and puts out a load of damage, a load of zoning, a load of control in the fight. Mid lane inhibitor is going to be on its last legs here, but it will survive. One more swift push from the 100 Thieves squad should allow them to take that one down, but for the time being, the ever-present threat of super minions is isolated to the bot lane. Good skirmishing, honestly, from Team Ambition. You can see the potential that this composition had in the early stages with the Yone finding that fate seal. He's now at 2 items. He is fully unlocked during this game to try and pump out the DPS. But they've not quite found the full miracle team fight just yet, and they're going to have to continue to search for it. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. They need to see if they're going to, weigh up the pros and cons of taking this fight right here. If they put Soul Point into 100 Thieves' next hands, it puts a clock on them even more so than the composition already did. The later this game goes, the harder these fights get. Your Team Ambition, you want to be trying to search for these fights, but with Talon up in the top side of his jungle, looks like they're going to be valuing gold over trying to take this fight.
I love the way that 100 Thieves ended up entering that jungle as well. You saw the vision laid back down from Chookies to take away some of the tempo that 100 Thieves had gotten, but as soon as Dawnbray arrives back into the enemy jungle, he throws out a hook into a brush going, hey, if there is somebody there, I will absolutely fight you. No questions, no qualms. Dragon ends up being taken as a result, but Team Ambition are not exactly too happy about it. Instead, going for a play on the other side here, trying to find Sniper underneath his own tier 2, and they don't even get that. Chookies instead gets deleted on the return, and with Insanity throwing out boatloads of damage on the other side of this, there is plenty more to go around. Night Star, Decoy, and Chookies all meet their untimely end, and now it's time for the teleport, the revenge of General Sniper.
Into the bot lane he goes. Nemesis going to stand absolutely no chance. Immortal Shield Bow will literally be no consequence here. 100 Thieves next. They've taken down 4 members, super minions wailing away on the base, and this could very well be the first game here of the group stage going their way.
That is going to be it for 100 Thieves. They are just playing with their food at the moment, and even an invisible talent cannot escape their grasp. It is a matter of padding the stats, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and completely decimating these remaining towers. Solar Flare not going to quite find Sniper, neither will the Redemption, but this Nexus is all but gone as 100 Thieves find that last auto and find themselves what you already said was the very first game of the group stage.
1-0 then here in this best of 3, and it wasn't without hope for Team Ambition as well. Yes, 100 Thieves next started to look very convincing in that end stage, but we got to see the glimpses, the showing of what Team Ambition can accomplish with their style of play here. They were going blow for blow in the early game, stealing away Heralds, going even in trades off the back of it, and the Drakes as well sometimes going in their favour. Team Ambition not out of this one just yet here. If they can keep their eyes on the real core of what their compositions and what their team style looks to achieve, they were able to go toe-to-toe with 100 Thieves through that early game. It came down to a couple of overextensions and some really nice compositional sort of differences in the later stages of the game that 100 Thieves next could really punish them with.
Yeah, it really did feel like, especially once we hit a little bit after Baron, I'm going to call it 25 minutes, that there was really nothing to be done, like you said, compositionally. But before that, Team Ambition, as you already illustrated, was keeping up quite well. And yet I felt like somewhere in between the time where composition took over for 100 Thieves, that Team Ambition had somehow already lost control of the game. Now, I don't know it, and I'll say, Rudude, perhaps you do, but you know who I know will have the answer? That's our analyst desk, our very smart analyst desk on the other side of this. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about the very first game.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on back to the analyst desk. We got to see what was a fantastic victory in game number 1 of this best of 3 for 100 Thieves Nets. Now it's time for us to kind of figure out how things went there. Real quick, Zoo, I'm going to go ahead and throw it right over to you. We're coming right into this. The draft that we got to see come out of them. They did do the Syndra over into the bot lane. This time, blitzing that they did, they blitzed around Karma, had this Yone swap around. It was a very interesting draft coming out from Ambition.
Yeah, I mean, they had some bit more synergy with some of their pieces. For example, if you're going to put Syndra bot lane, having it with Leona is certainly better than having it with a Karma. However, some of their pieces don't really make sense. For example, blinding Yone mid when you have Talon jungle, you're not really giving yourself the ability to get mid push, especially with an OP champ like Victor available that's able to control melee zone quite effectively. Then you're putting Karma top into a matchup where she can't control the wave, and Karma top is usually best in situations versus lower econ champs where she can control the wave. So even though the game went a bit even to start, this situation, this draft is not something I want to see again from Ambition, just because if they run out of gas quite quickly, they don't have much consistent DPS, and then it's hard for their lanes to play into each other. And frankly, 100 Thieves next going Victor, it's certainly the effective pick, but it's definitely the safer pick than they could have taken. They could have taken something like a TF or a Rise or a Zoe and then opted for a wave 3, wave 4 dive top. And then the game would have been broken open a lot faster. But, 100 Thieves just played it slow, played it safe. There's no reason for them to speed it up against a comp like this, and they're able to just take a clean victory.
Yeah, honestly, just about every champion's going to work into Yone right now, if
Yeah.
we're being completely honest. They nerfed him directly, they nerfed Lethal Tempo, they nerfed Shield Bow, Wit's End. Everything about this champion is super, super weak at the moment. So just about anything that Insanity could have shown in this would have worked. And yeah, Slow and Steady wins the race in this case for 100 Thieves. They know they're against a team that likes to play fast and loose with these assassins, and they make it work on their own by just sort of avoiding that stage of the game where they can get tripped up.
Yeah, and talking about getting tripped up, we got to see some very clean plays come out from Anti here. But that dragon play was a big turning point. We saw a very even gold, and then that second dragon fight happened. We do have a clip of that, I do believe, here. So I do want to see that. And so you had a couple... Oh, no, this is actually the first blood clip here.
Yeah, first we're seeing the weakness of Yone right now. Where when you don't have ult and you don't have flash because those were burned earlier, it's very difficult to operate against this Victor and Jarvan. You have so much zone control and so much access to underneath this turret as well. Now, that one was responded to by a couple of kills by Team Ambition, but just a good example of what the problems are with when you pick this champion in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's something with their comp. Actually, playing off that replay, Syndra and Leon are able to come mid and get 2 kills, and they're able to clean up, and it looks like a bright spot for Team Ambition. But because of the way their comp, executes later, where they have no siege, they don't really have the best scaling DPS, especially on the AD side. It requires them to be able to get Herald and get some sort of artificial pumping gold early and get some sort of map position. But those 2 kills actually sacrifice their base timer and wreck their tempo, and it allows Array to be able to get first push on bottom and then shift into Herald side at 8 minutes. Now, it was good on Ambition's jungler to be able to get the steal, make the hero play. That's that's great, but you're not really giving yourself a point of control at that point. So really, 2 kills, fantastic, but you come out of it with even less control than you had beforehand. And with the comp that's on a timer like this, it's not really a situation you want.
I 100% agree. And I mean, we got to see time and time again from the example you just showed with Anticipation, Anti over there. He is, you can see why they want to play through this jungler here. Anticipation is showing us some big plays, but here's the clip I was talking about earlier on, and you had some thoughts about this, Zoo.
Yeah, for sure. So the big thing with this Drake was they were actually first, and with a comp like theirs, they really need to be first in River. And I think what they did well was putting themselves in a good initial position to be able to control this Drake, but they actually had a better position than the one they executed. They had Nemesis on that side flank with no wards, and they ended up, instead of forcing 100 Thieves to kind of come into them and kind of engage with them or try to poke them out and bring them into a point where they could get pinched, they ended up opting to give up the flank position and just reach into 100 Thieves next. And if you're ever playing versus a sort of poke comp like the one they have with Victor, Jace, and Jhin, you're going to get your initial engage and it's going to look promising, but the time you separate afterwards is where that range is really going to come up. So, a good Yone engage on 2, on 3, I believe, but in the situation like that, if you're not just going to clean burst everyone immediately, you're going to get picked off on the way out. And that's where the flank can really salvage, your ability to team fight, because you can hit them from multiple angles. I think once they misexecuted that dragon, I feel like the game was, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for that one. And just a bit of a slow burn afterwards.
Yeah, I feel like the slow burn is probably the best way to explain it, because it just felt like 100 Thieves, they never let go of the lead, right? Like 100 Thieves Nets was always in control. They were always the team that was being pivotal about things, moving things around, and it felt like you looked over at Team Ambition and they kind of got rocked there. So they were a little bit dazed there. So it's just a big example of that. But here we got another replay, Smets, if you could, because this is the mid lane play where they were actually able to get a nice little fight for Team Ambition at the end.
Yeah, we're seeing that Team Ambition are still finding some creative ways to get things started. And while we were watching this, I mentioned to you guys that Array did the Jhin thing.
Yep.
The way that I can explain this is that, no flame to Array, but it always irks me when I see a Jhin player in range to cast spells just start ulting for no reason, because he's still got all of his bullets available. He still has his Q that he can throw in there, but big curtain call move, look shiny, you gotta pop it. I feel like this could have been a little bit cleaner for 100 Thieves if that didn't happen. Obviously, it still went their way because they ended up with River priority, but it is something to think about. And on the back end of this one as well, we're seeing that example. We're seeing one example of what Zoo was talking about earlier, where Team Ambition aren't really respecting the tempo and the uptime that they are given in the situation that they are.
Yeah, if you're down tempo on the map and the enemy gets a neutral objective, use that to just get your push and use that to take a base so you can at least approach the opposite side of the map even with the enemy team. As soon as you fish for an objective like a tier 1 mid, you're just giving your tempo right back to the enemy team. You're going to find yourself pinched and you're going to go back to a situation where you were 30 seconds ago where you had no control.
Yeah, and we got to see examples of that over and over again in terms of how the game continued to go on and on. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a best of 3 series here. It is going to go over to a game number 2, so we are going to take ourselves a short little break. When we come back, we're going to be able to see game number 2 between 100 Thieves Nets and Team Ambition. So make sure you do not touch that browser, as we will be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready for Game 2, and I could not be more excited, Rooted, especially after Game 1. I'd come into the day already sold on both of these teams with the crazy way that Ambition has been approaching the game and the decisive and overwhelming power of 100 Thieves next, but seeing them both on display, it was something else entirely.
It really was, right? We got to see the compositions, our theories, our ideologies of these squads pretty much pen to paper put on a show for us in that game number 1. TA went for this talent in the jungle. The third time round, Anticipation has taken this pick for himself. An aggressive mid laner as well on the same side here. The Yone not quite finding the same successes that the Talon did, but still getting that sort of core, the ideologies of TA really down to a T. And then 100 Thieves next, going with something a little bit more traditional here in the 12.1 meta, but looked more than capable of pulling it off right here. Array on Jin, similarly kind of left to his own little devices down in the bot lane, whilst Dombre and Fnatic in particular started all of these plays off, started initiating for the 100 Thieves squad and putting them out in front.
I sort of throwing my mind back. It's difficult for me to think of a play that wasn't started by a hook or a flash cataclysm, especially early on. I mean, in team fights, so much of it was Dawnbray, but in setting up laners around skirmishes, finding success, finding picks in the jungle, I felt like it was all Fnatic, and these two really spearheaded the majority of the engages and the majority of the safety that was spelled out for the rest of the carries on 100 Thieves next. It's part of what made their team fights so exciting to watch.
It really did. The early stages, putting Nemesis 9 down in the dirt with those flash cataclysms, time and time again, it was Fnatic making those plays. And then, as you say, later on, Dombre the one trying to sort of signal those ways forward. Now, as we are going to be moving into game number 2 here, we've got the draft about to pop up for you guys right now. It is Team Ambition back on the blue side here. So there's a very real possibility that we see this sort of rinse and repeat here of, okay, Team Ambition saying, you know what? If we do something a little bit better, execute slightly more in the early stages, we've got just as good an opportunity to take down 100 Thieves as anybody. Same bans to begin with here. TA went with the Lee Sin in the first stage last time. It was Jinx and Irelia to follow. Let's wait and see if 100 Thieves are also going to repeat here. Olaf went with the Caitlyn and the Hecarim as well to follow these.
Yeah, I will say that thinking about the way the Team Ambition approached at least the very first draft in Game 1, I'd like to see them depart a little bit from the priority on things like the Karma and the Syndra. Not because it ultimately was bad, but because I think that there are other things that they can put in their place. Of course, though, taking away things like the Lee Sin, taking away things like the Aurelia is only respectful and well due against 100 Thieves next.
We swapped out a ban here as well. The Jace taken away from Sniper here.
Nice.
Just makes sense. Getting rid of that. If he's capable of attempting to blind pick this into whatever you've got to throw at him, he was more than handy at taking down a very squishy support style champion in the top lane. Now, 100 Thieves next, they keep the exact same 3 bans. Last time round, this was a Karma, but obviously with Jinx not on the TA ban list, they could well divert to this as their bot laner, and it already slightly switches up what we expect from this TA squad. Yes, they're a team that like to leave top lane on an island and play more toward their mid and jungle priority, but this lends a little bit more credence to a late game style of play.
I like this a lot, Rudude. I am an enjoyer of this draft. We've got already. I mean, you talked up the Jinx here, and giving Team Ambition another source of consistent damage is great. As Zyra would be so fascinating into this, and I'm not sure how I feel about it into things like the Karma. However, against the Xin Zhao, it does hold potential. Xin Zhao, naturally, though, you talked about this earlier, one of the strongest junglers on this patch. They took the Jarvan once for 100 Thieves next. Why not just change things up?
Yeah, pick up the Xin Zhao here, particularly pairing with the Karma as well. Such a good partnership that we see between these two that can be played mid-jungle. I don't expect to see Insanity sat on Karma duty, though. Doesn't quite seem fair, honestly, to put the ex-LCS player on Karma, but it's a possibility. I'm also a big fan of this Nautilus here, taking that away from Dombre. It was a really good pickup for him as well, if we were to see that Karma flex. Dear, we got another one. We got another assassin.
Okay, I'm ready. Now, does it go mid or jungle? That's the question.
There we go.
The big question is, where is this set going? Because you and I both know Team Ambition can take it anywhere. However, I think it's also worth talking about this Ezreal that we haven't seen just yet, because we may not know where Zed is going. We know exactly where this Ezreal is going, and not only that, but what he's doing with the team.
Well, currently, I'm certainly sure that this is nothing with the team for the early stages, and that's sort of why you've allowed Ezreal. He's one of the best champions at sitting under a turret and being safe, keeping himself alive here, making sure that there's nothing really that Team Ambition can do. And very good on minimal resources as well. His item build path actually fairly low in gold as well, compared to that of a Jinx, for example. So already out of these first 3 picks, we've got jungle and bot lane. I'm going to use that tentatively and just assume that Anti is going to be taking this Zed. There's still the opportunity for him to flex it into the mid lane, but he has played 2 Zed games already, and it's just the one for Nemesis on the other side of things. Now, once again, 100 Thieves, they're sticking to their bans here, Tahm Kench and Malphite. They will be more than happy to try and take some topside priority with whichever top laner General Sniper tends to feel about here, and with the Camille ban taken away now, one more ban to be taken out. Last time around they went for Twisted Fate. If they want that again for Insanity's ban pool, they're more than well within their rights to do so.
I don't mind a Renekton here for 100 Thieves next as well, just sort of thinking about top lane picks that they could grab. You can go for something that is just very all-around strong, and that Riven ban says it all, guys. If you hadn't been paying attention to the bans, just draw your eyes up real quick, because the fact is that when Sniper can draw those kinds of bans, he's definitely warping the game. Whatever 100 Thieves next choose to go with here is ultimately going to give either their mid laner or their top laner counter pick, and that's what we're looking out for. It's going to be counter pick given over to Insanity, and interestingly enough, a Gwen handed to their top laner.
Okay, so we've got a couple options now for TA. Obviously, we're expecting a more supportive style tank in that top lane, and typically that's where Gwen is going to be able to shine. Should be more than capable at trying to pick up a good sort of foundation for success. And we'll have to wait and see what the answer is here, because remember, there's still the opportunity to flex the mid lane, and this is really smart from 100 Thieves next, not showing their mid lane hand, just in case the TA, so it's sort of limiting the TA flex here. They're going to have to show their hand before 100 Thieves show theirs, and really just smart drafting to pick up this top lane pick first of all. It's going to be that Victor in the mid lane, another pick that Nemesis has played a couple of times already in the open qualifiers, and a much more stable, much more generic here composition from TA in general, with the Victor Jinx, regardless of what the top side looks like. You've got stable fighting later on.
100 Thieves kind of fall into this thing as well with the last pick there, going, oh, we got last pick, but yeah, ultimately Corki's probably best,
Yeah.
because we're going against a Victor, so why not just have the nice bit of scaling, the nice bit of safety that Corki provides. And honestly, I can't say that I mind it, Rude Dude. It does still give you that great backline, this amazing hyper scaling, although I will say that looking at the composition of 100 Thieves next, the one thing that they are missing is Engage, where Team Ambition have a whole lot more of that lockdown.
And honestly, that's kind of why you're allowed as 100 Thieves here to not have so much engage, because if you're trying to engage versus this composition, rule number one is Set's just going to fling you back anyway and counter your engage, and you're giving him free reign into your backline essentially. So they're going to be playing a much more reserved, much more range-oriented style of play. And then as we get later into those team fights, they've still got frontline. Engage may not be their forte, but frontline, they've actually got in abundance here. Nobody that's the generic tank, but they're going to have Fnatic with the Crescent Guard, they're going to have Sniper, who's got his W as well, the auto attack immunity, the damage immunity that is going to be coming through on this front line for 100 Thieves next, means that there are going to be maybe 5-6 seconds of team fight where Nightstar and Nemesis are just sort of sat there twiddling their thumbs going, I'm using all my abilities, but nobody's they're not doing any damage.
Why is our god so cruel? I'm looking at this and thinking, actually, when I cover up the Zinzal, I mean, you can probably leave him. When I cover up the Zed on Team Ambition, I'm actually getting a pretty normal team composition. This is a very, very standard game from them, with the exception of the Zed jungle. And when we're dealing with something like this, where everything is normal except for one pick, I have to ask you, Rooted, how can this one pick warp the game around itself? Can Zed become the center point of this game, or is it ultimately going to be something that seems good in theory, like it could do stuff, but realistically just doesn't have impact?
I think that first of all, it's important to say that I would much rather, and I think that most people would much rather, have comfort over the sort of status quo more so than anything else, right? Anticipation here on a champion that he's very comfortable with, would much rather that than, first timing a Lee Sin or a Jarvan, for example, here. And I think that this time round, when you pick these assassin style junglers, you want winning late. Going to look at that bot lane and say, hey, you know what, Jinx Nautilus probably going to have push priority, probably going to do fairly well versus the Ezreal early on. There is a world where Dombre is able to sort of mitigate that push factor with the Mantra Q, with the pushback that Flare does put down, but Decoy as well on this top side. A lot more agency on a set than you do a Karma, so there are certainly lanes for anticipation. And we're going to be hoping that, that Zed maybe has a couple more lanes to play through this time around, and a little bit less of a one-man band in this time out.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like it's going to be a lot more about how things start to come together. And of course, speaking of that, one of the things that we didn't really get a large focus on last game that I'm not expecting to shift around too much this game are those dragons, especially when we think about neutral objectives and the platform that they allow for these teams to fight around. I think that the team that I'm looking to succeed most on those is 100 Thieves next, because it is their time to draw Team Ambition into a team fight. Because you're operating on a composition that has relatively little engage, the only time that Team Ambition actually have to fight 100 Thieves next is when 100 Thieves next are between Team Ambition and an objective that Team Ambition wants. That's the position that I want to see Red Side in more often than not.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves next with this comp, they do have the outrange capability here, and it's kind of rare to say that, you know, you're going to be outranging a Victor and a Jinx, because these guys, when we get to the late stages of the game, with lethal tempo fully stacked, with the effective range of Chaos Storm and lasers, it's hard to outrange a Victor and a Jinx, but yet somehow Array and Insanity have that capability. Wouldn't be surprised to see Insanity diversify the build from what we're usually seeing here, and maybe going for this new age Luden's style of build where you opt into, you know, the Tiamat into Ravenous Hydra plus a Mana Moon as well. But early on, look at this. Chukis isn't even in bot lane, dear. He's already up in the top side. They are looking to bully out Fnatic from his jungle, and so far so good.
It's just the bamboozling red buff does end up coming out to play, so Anti is going to end up picking that up, but Nightstar definitely suffering down here without Chookies by his side. I like Jinx, she's very powerful, but the level 1, especially in a 1 versus 2, isn't exactly where I'd put most of that strength, and getting Anti ahead is already coming at a rather large cost for the bot side.
Arcane buff's pretty strong, but 1v2ing a lane, I'm not quite sure that that's the full strength of it right here, but anticipation here, he steals away 2 camps on the top side. They will most likely be answered by Fnatic here. Whether or not he's going to go for a dive is certainly something that could reach the realms of possibility. Looks like it is just going to be an attempted steal away of the enemies at red buff, sweeps through on this bot side as well, and even if we see Anticipation move his way down here, Fnatic is with full support of his bot lane right now, because Nightstar, not only is he under his turret, he doesn't want to give up a single creep. He's been starved out of the first wave or two and doesn't want to be giving up anything to move over to his jungler here. So this is a free invade. This is Fnatic more than happy to take this one, and you know, just keep Anticipation in check. Say, hey, you know what, you may have slowed me down, but I've still been able to collect the farm, albeit at a slower pace here.
I mean, just to sort of contextualize
this could be bad,
things, though, Fnatic may end up being caught out. Anti has finally finished his own clear of the top side and rotated down, leaving Fnatic without too much to do but run off into his own jungle, collecting the Scuttle Crab on his way. So bot side's still going to be very, very safe for this Xin Zhao, but until he gets his reset, picks up a few more items, I don't think he wants to be skirmishing with the Zed just yet. Dawnbray and Array, though, skirmishing on the bot side as Hook connects, and ultimately, neither support takes all that much damage.
No, the Karma here, very good at mitigating damage, and of course Aftershock plus Nautilus W tend to do the same sort of thing. Actually, Arcane Comet.
A step a little bit too far forward there. Dawnbreak getting ignited now, potentially being taken down as he flashes away, gets healed, and leaves Array in the front lines. Nightstar not flashing for that kill, instead going quite low himself. Leave 100 Thieves still in the driver's seat at the end of what looked like it may have been a critical misstep.
Yeah, and you know, if we take a look at what this 100 Thieves bot lane is still working with, the resources, the consumables in their way, they've still got 2 biscuits for Array, the health potion as well. The biscuit going to be doing much better at restoring the mana necessarily than the health, particularly since Array doesn't actually have any health missing. But right now, Team Ambition operating with no more resources. They're going to be calling for some jungle assistance if they need it to sort of break out of this lane and give them a little bit more opportunity to find that reset timing, because so far, as you would imagine, when you don't have a support for the first couple waves, Array is far and away ahead right here. This Karma bullying out the Nautilus as well in the early stages is exactly what they're looking for, and as we get later into the game, the Karma in this later stage will be very, very impactful. We'll be vastly outscaling the Nautilus in terms of utility that she can pump on out, and you sort of rely on this one hook hits all.
Now, uncharacteristically, we've been focusing a lot on the bot lane of 100 Thieves next, but this is what I really like. When they start paying attention into the mid lane, into their solo lanes that we know are powerful, Dawnbray and Fnatic throwing a little gank towards Nemesis, not too much comes of it, but I like the ever-shifting focus up towards Insanity, and potentially later on, up towards Sniper and Decoy.
Yeah.
Or at least, Decoy would certainly like some attention, because he's got 18 CS right now.
He's not having the best of time. Sniper as well been finding cheater recall after free recall as well. Dawnbray, careful.
Dead. He's already dead. I saw him step over into the banner and he was already gone. First blood goes to Anti and Team Ambition. Their patience pays off. Dawnbray, the second critical misstep this game.
Yeah, the first blood here that goes the way of TA. This could well translate into a dragon as well. And unfortunately, we do see a couple of the consequences from 100 Thieves next of Dombre being so willing to roam and then not quite be as patient on his way back to the laning phase. After the first reset, Dombre very happy to just leave a rate on his own, particularly on the Ezreal. He can get away with it here, but he's just caught out moving his way back into the lane. The dragon is going to be given over as well. And the good thing about this here for 100 Thieves is this gives Fnatic time to get himself back into this jungle matchup here. The CS now starting to even up a little bit here. You can see Anticipation still has 3 of his 4 camps to take, and those, okay, Sniper, those should be able to.
Decoy still has one of his own flashes to get himself under tower. I like the so close to being turned around there, but no channel on the Haymaker means that Sniper gets out with that kill and a wave that's frozen back towards him.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So far, there's been no impact on the top lane by either of the junglers, but it is Sniper who is simply showing his class here. The mechanical sort of interaction in this top lane here, really the only thing that has been tested so far, and it is Sniper that's coming out on top. Decoy unfortunately not being able to hold a candle to what this Gwen has been putting out. CS lead has been picked up pretty much throughout. From level 1 was getting zoned away from farm, and now we have to sort of wait and see if TA can hold on here, because their composition, as we've talked about, does team fight incredibly well, and they've got the engage to set it up. If we get to a position where Nightstar is still far and away not at those 2-3 item power spikes, the same to be said for Nemesis as well on this Victor. Those team fights may look good on paper, but if you don't have the damage to back it up, it's just going to be 100 Thieves running away with yet another game.
It seems like the increasingly inevitable reality right now, especially with the way that Array has continued the momentum. Nightstar, at the very least, shouldn't be able to match up in power level, barring some really nice kill collections in the team fights. Chookies, I like the attitude, throwing out another hook, but that means that no hooks available to keep Nightstar safe, and yet another chunk ends up going through on his Jinx.
Yeah, this is really good, just micro mechanics from the spot side. Okay, we have no hook, let's just try and find a trade. Need to look more so at what the squads are looking to accomplish with the remaining sort of 2-3 minutes here of this early gamers. More first strike, more gold for Array. And honestly, I'm looking to Team Ambition to just keep on slowing the pace of this game. They need to try and stabilize what's happening in top lane, stabilize bot lane, because right now, we've talked about their late game win condition, but they're not going to get there. The gold is being sort of stalled from them, from the outlaning that is happening. And again, puts a lot of pressure on Anticipation, and I feel a bit silly because, I've highlighted these 2 lanes that I was hoping would give Anticipation a bit more leniency here, a bit more authority, agency in this game. Unfortunately, they've just not had that. Fnatic is going to be spotted on this ward, so it should be okay to just let TA go back. But he's just here to force them off the turret. They don't want to let them catch this wave, and you can see that both junglers just sort of here to mitigate one another's presence, and it's just going to act as though they're both here in the 2v2.
Now Anticipation has hit level 6 and now even 7 if he wants to try and find a play onto 2 very squishy bot laners, but like you rightfully called out, the fact that 100 Thieves ended up getting here first, being the ones to make Anticipation take the defensive position, is the really worrying thing right now, because a Zed without autonomy isn't going to be doing too much at all. He's not known as a great peeler, he's not known as a great counter engager. Zed is an assassin, and not being able to use the backup of his team to make these plays is going to make things very difficult for him. As Insanity, perhaps making things a little difficult for himself, does end up using the Valkyrie right back out after that package. The Fnatic on the way. It's Nemesis that should have to back off here, as once again, Anti has to roam up defensively.
Absolute thrall in the mid lane here. Exhaust.
Uses the ult. He's on top of Insanity. Nice flash, though. And a flash right on top of him does end up getting Anti yet another kill as he gets that traded back on him. He takes Dawnbreak down as well. This Zed is insane right now. Anti is just showing us something else.
Team Ambition here come up 3 for 1 in the mid lane. Nemesis able to bait in just well enough. And Dawnbreak actually makes a pretty crucial mistake right there. Steps back onto the living shadow of Anticipation, and the good presence of mind to simply press E, pick up the freebie of the Karma sat on your shadow, quite rightly. Collects a second kill for himself in that skirmish. Overall, they come out on top here. They're getting kills onto their Zed and assists onto their Victor. Probably the best allocation of those resources, really, because your Zed's getting items, your Victor is getting upgrades. They are putting themselves in a good spot to keep this early game in their favor. And like we said, if we get to the later stages, if they can find those engages, they're in a good spot.
Decoy may just go down, though. No flash this time to reposition underneath the tower, but this time as well, he ends up getting that haymaker off as Insanity jumps right into Chookies. The play from Team Ambition leaves no question that they were going to pick up yet another kill. 5-2 on the scoreboard, and with the Dragon up in just 10 seconds, Team Ambition should get themselves a little bit of extra damage off the Infernal.
If Anticipation can get in range of Insanity, get in range of Array, they've got no answer to this. Dombre has 1 exhaust and potentially 2 shields with Mantra to go between the two of them, but that exhaust, a very long cooldown. The shields, obviously a little bit less so, but he's got full Duskblade already completed. That is a lot of lethality already in the back pocket, with no armor stacked up by the 100 Thieves next carries. The 100 Thieves team as a whole don't have any armor to speak of. Expect those steel caps to start to build their way in, but at that point you're starting to think, okay, we're building all this armor. There's still a Victor in the game here. This guy is still going to be looking to pump out DPS left, right, and center. And if he goes unchecked once again, he could very easily do it.
It's looking like that may be the play, at least for the side of Team Ambition, but oh no, Array steps a little bit too far forward, has to burn the flash and the jump to get away, and instead doesn't even end up surviving as Anti was able to take him down. Nightstar still surviving as well, takes a decent chunk, but still manages to stay alive as Team Ambition lose nothing and get a very big prize towards this bot side. It's once again Anti, and this time the hook from Chookies that started it off.
Can he be the carry force now? Team Ambition's jungler has been set up for success. Can he take the win? Deathmark, unfortunately, onto Fnatic there, and he doesn't want to try and commit to that. Nightstar also flashes forward, and no idea quite how he lives this, to be honest. 1 Q goes right from Dombre, which is actually what gives Nightstar the sort of reprieve. But I want to, this is a great time here, dear. We've cut back up to this top lane. There is a Titan forming right now for 100 Thieves next, and we haven't seen it in any sort of team fights just yet, but Sniper TP unleashes in 1 minute. At some point, he's going to make his way toward a team fight. He's going to be let out of his top lane prison and going to make something happen on the map. And I need to see the Sniper versus Anti fight, because that is where we're going to see the real indication of how this game's going to go. Yes, it's the 2 Fed members of each squad going head to head with one another, and if Sniper is able to deal with Anticipation, then TA, they don't have a lot of answers here. They've still got the Victor, they've got this relatively underwhelming Jinx right now, and that is going to make it very difficult for them to deal with what is a very scary Gwen.
I've got to say, one of the things that I really like about that matchup, especially if you're a 100 Thieves fan, you're looking at the Gwen Zed and going, well, one of us is going to build Hourglass, and that's going to be real nice, isn't it? Sniper should have a much easier time, especially once he hits those 2 or 3 items, depending on the way that he chooses to approach this. And already, you can see Fnatic starting to recognize that, playing a little bit more up towards the top side, knowing that Array and Dombre are just fine, but that you can rely on the scaling that this Gwen will give you inside of the later game team fights. Array and Dombre are going to be able to push in the wave, and now you can start to consider taking down that top lane tower, unless Anti can take down Dombre, as he most certainly does.
He does the majority of the work, and then Nightstar, to get himself a little bit of extra cash in the back pocket, fires off that super mega death rocket and says thank you very much. Drake spawning in a couple of minutes time here, so the objective not quite going to be ready for them to secure. But if they get that one, that's sole point, dear. They've done a very good job here, Team Ambition, at putting objectives in early. They're ahead in gold. They've got the tools here to give themselves a win. Insanity.
We're doing this. We're jumping right on top of Nemesis. Just now that damage reduction runs out, but as it does, Nemesis flashes away, keeping himself safe. 100 Thieves aren't done yet, though. Channeling that Rift Herald. They want not the one tower that they got in the top lane, but a second one in this mid lane once again, getting themselves a lot more pressure on the map. And if you'll recall, Rudude, this was a big turning point in Game 1. When mid lane tower fell, Team Ambition seemed lost for just a small second, but it was long enough for 100 Thieves to be able to get the game firmly into their command. Now they've taken down the mid lane tower for the second game in a row. Will history repeat itself?
Only time will tell. It's a large sort of pressure here now on Nemesis to keep himself relevant in this game. Obviously 1-0-3 on the victory is a very admirable scoreline, right? This guy is by no means having a bad game, even ahead in farm and ahead in experience, more so, excuse me, than Insanity. And I'd love to mention this one, that levels give you just so much intangible gold as well here. There's a level lead in the jungle, there's a level lead in the mid lane here. There's about 500 gold in every champion's level, that if you're not a support that is. So that's 1,000 gold that you don't see on the top of your screen that is in fact in favour here of Team Ambition. We're sort of excluding what's happening top lane as Fnatic gets shown that yes, you're playing as Inzile now, you've got plated steel caps, but Zed's almost 2 items. He's a scary boy.
Teleport came through from Sniper, though. He's ready for this fight, and if anybody can change this, Sniper certainly can. No Zanya's just yet, but he is more than ready to fight. Seems like, however, the rest of 100 Thieves say, why would we do that when we can just take more towers? They give up Soul Point here, but Tier 2 is most certainly theirs.
Yeah, so it's this sort of trade-off right now. They're gaining a large portion of map control by taking down this mid-tier 2 in exchange for Soul Point. And in 5 minutes' time, that may well come to bite them. But we've got about 5 minutes' time now where Team Ambition are going to have to be very cognizant of wherever they go. They have got very little support when trying to make their way to get vision. You know, typically you can try and fall back to the bastion of mid lane, but you have to fall back all the way to your base or inside to one of those side lane turrets. It's going to be a fairly difficult one to keep vision up for, particularly when you don't have the response of the enemy's mid tier 1 at all. So again, Team Ambition, they've traded off here, wave control and lane states more so for anything else in the mid lane, and the vision for getting a little bit of gold here on the side lane and also picking up that Mountain Drake.
I'm a really big fan, speaking of those dragons, of the fact that Team Ambition were able to get all of these objectives, with Anti already burning part of the mobility from the Zed, though he's gonna have to flash away, already having burned the exhaust and now use the ultimate. Anti is forced into a no-win scenario, and what had otherwise been the carry of Team Ambition is now left with no way out, gets taken down, and Nemesis may well follow him as Array jumps forward. Fnatic lands yet another slow, and Nemesis is an auto away from death. Insanity cleans him up, and it's 2 kills for nothing in the favor of 100 Thieves, and potentially the biggest mistake that Team Ambition have made all game.
Yeah, it's not just 2 kills here, it's 2 kills on the most important carries here of Team Ambition. Anti caught with his hands in the cookie jar, unfortunately, trying to steal away some camps. And I sort of asked you, what does Dombre have? Well, he's got the exhaust, he's got those shields, and more than enough to keep himself alive. Sniper sat waiting patiently, able to take him down on return here, and that W as well from the Gwen just buying so much time. Nightstar again, like I say, sat there twiddling his thumbs. He can't deal damage to this Gwen, fear of simply dying inside the shroud. So it's unfortunate for Team Ambition, but one overstay gets incredibly well punished by 100 Thieves, a trait that they have got. If they see somebody in a position that they deem inappropriate, they deem illegal, they are going to capitalize and they're going to send them down to the prison.
This is one of the things on the composition of Team Ambition that makes me worry, mainly because they've got a very low margin or very small margin of error that they can use. When we're thinking about this team in the larger context, we saw this play out just last fight. Anti had used the Living Shadow very early on is, I'll say, a little bit more of a confident move to try and dissuade Fnatic. But as soon as he does something like that, he's missing one mobility tool, he's forced to ult, he's missing yet another, and now all of a sudden, Zed really can't do anything. He can be kited out quite easily, and we saw the counterplay right there. He's got to be a chaotic force here. He cannot be the one to start fights. That lies with Chookies, that lies with Decoy, and if Team Ambition are not following those rules, they're gonna start losing the fights.
I'm looking as well at this mid lane right now because Team Ambition here. Okay, we're okay. We're chilling. Chookies is looking. No worries, no worries. Don't worry.
Okay, we're okay. We're okay.
I know you're. I know you're looking for the fights. I know you want to be popping off here, but Team Ambition, they don't have their superstar of the jungle right now. He was off in the top side, clearing out vision, doing his due diligence, doing the macro work, the broader League of Legends play that is sort of fundamental here at trying to find success, particularly again up against a 100 Thieves squad that have looked very much daunting, have won every single game so far in this tournament, and don't look to be trying to lose out on another one here. And You remember, recall what I said maybe 5-10 minutes into this game here, that Team Ambition can try and slow the pace of this game down. They have got the late game of a Jinx and a Victor here. If they can find those engages using Chukis, using Decoy, their team fight still exists and is still very scary if they can find the right timing. Of course, there's a lot of that's a fairly big variable for them to be looking at, but they've also got this sort of presence here of 3 dragons in their back pocket. 1 minute on the Mountain Soul, and that is going to make the poke style of Insanity and Array fairly easy to deal with here. You get hit by one big one as opposed to it dealing maybe 40-50% of your damage here with this crit strike build and not the poke one. You've got that Mountain Soul on. It's a little chip more so than anything else.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether 100 Thieves try and opt into fighting for this dragon, or whether they just give up the soul as they've seemed to want to do for the last little while. Dragons haven't been that important to them, but if they're going to opt into taking something like the dragon, Team Ambition can still take advantage of that, trying to find advantages elsewhere and potentially answering back in the mid lane. 100 Thieves, though, they want to fight. Fnatic is on the front line. They're waiting for the engage from Chookies. The sniper goes over the wall. Insanity manages to cut everybody off with a massive package, and Fnatic in the front line, still alive, finally gets taken down as Decoy jumps in, though. It is all chaos, and it's Team Ambition that come out on top of it. No engage for 100 Thieves. It means no lockdown. It means no kills.
Yeah, they're using Insanity to find these engages. They don't quite find the success. It's Fnatic and Sniper that fall, the 2 frontline members here of 100 Thieves, and that is Mountain Soul, the prize that Team Ambition have been working towards leveraging all of those early game leads that they had. They've now got the full engage, the full power of that Drake behind them. Nemesis also going to be looking to take this mid-tier one. Might be a little bit overreaching, but one more autumn is actually going to finish the job, and they get gold, they get the kills, they get the Drake here. Everything on Team Ambition here. Insanity here, you can see, starts off the fight and then doesn't really get into the fight for a few more minutes, a few seconds longer. Nightstar able to find one reset, and as well as all of this, it's actually the sort of, not even the kill that Anticipation gets, it's also the distraction that he causes. Array constantly needs to keep himself at bay. You see Insanity kind of in trouble, but TPs are coming to respond.
He may be able to survive this, actually. Sniper is right on top of him, and he's going to be tanking up the majority of the damage. There comes the Zanya's just in time, though, and he gets away from Decoys. Anti shows up, though. Sniper should be taken down. Last auto does it, and now it's Fnatic that is up on the chopping block. Slow's going to come in with the stun, manages to catch the Zins out just in time, and as Nightstar pops in to get excited.
Baron.
He's popped in just near the end. It's going to be 2 kills, and now, as you say, Rudude, that sweet, sweet Baron going to Team Ambition.
The same 2 members falling here, dear, that front line. Insanity and Array need to try and utilize their poke. TP back in from Insanity, but Nemesis is running point. Chuki's running point. They've got the Mountain Soul to tank this up. Dombre going to go down on the top side. Can they do this? Baron is 3.
Insanity is waiting over the wall. See if he can try and take this one away. And he is still very close. And Chookies looks for the hook. Valkyrie ends up getting burned, and Nemesis is on the way over. Baron goes down to Team Ambition. You said it yourself, dude. 100 Thieves next have not lost a game just yet. Might this be their first?
They're down a Baron. They're down a Soul. This could well be the first defeat for them. All starting here just with little bits of poke. Fighters for vision and getting a stun right here. Nemesis, this is on the top side whilst the Baron is going down. He's kind of 1v2ing right here. Chukis walks in to just finish off the job, but Array doesn't have the damage to deal with this level 14 Victor, getting so many kills and so much gold in his back pocket. Almost finishes that Rabadon's in combination off of the Baron as well. Right now, Team Ambition, they've got that late game scaling. They've got the Jinx on 2.5 items. As soon as we see the Infinity Edge and the Rabadons come through, that's it. That's the Exodia completed for Team Ambition. They've hit the spikes. They're ready to brawl.
And right now, I would not want to be brawling with them. 100 Thieves are doing their best to avoid all of Team Ambition across the map. But with Nemesis pushing up in the top side, you can't take that 1v1. You can't take this 4v4 down towards the bot side. And with Baron ever pushing in, we're seeing sort of an Uno reverse card of last game, where Baron was doing so much work for 100 Thieves then. Now for Team Ambition, it has become that ever-present force that draws everybody into this bot side in a losing scenario for 100 Thieves.
You can see the power of this Mountain Soul here for Team Ambition there. Just able to absorb a little bit more poke. Yes, the True Shot Barrage came down and the big one did put Nightstar down to about 40% HP, but without it, he probably dies, honestly, and that may seem a little bit overestimating, but you wouldn't be too far wrong here. Now the lifesteal off the wave will give Nightstar a little bit of an opportunity. You look in the mid lane as well. Nemesis pushing in that, so they're trying to play 2 lanes right now. Obviously going up against Sniper, they've been very easily able to contain the Gwen in these team fights. Isolated, it doesn't become as easy. And this turret fairly low. A lot of gold on these inner turrets in the side lanes should be given over to TA.
I know it's really selfish of me, but I want Sniper to fight Nemesis in a 1v1 so bad right now. They've both got some of the most farm in the game. They're both at almost the same level, and at this point, could just be the fight that changes the game. I think that's the thing that both of them are so afraid of, but the thing is, the longer we wait, the more this falls out of 100 Thieves' control. Already, inhibitor tower down in the bot lane, over at half health, and same things happening in the mid lane, perhaps even worse, as Nemesis can get yet another chunk so soon with this Victor. You're going to lose an inhibitor tower unless you fight right now, 100 Thieves.
Now they're just going to be conceding it here. The Baron pressure is simply too much, and with Nemesis ready to respond, the 5v5 is not something that 100 Thieves win. Big rocket, that is one rocket from Nightstar, takes a Ray down to about 60% HP here. They're going to go for more here, dear, because they've got the Baron just now worn off. Looks like everybody's going to go back to doing their own little thing, maybe going back to reset, but 2 inhibitors, that's the prize that you've got for the Baron. That is easily worthwhile for you and a very successful push that they're going to be happy to take on board.
Big moves from Team Ambition, having secured that. We've got the makings of a Zhonya's
Look at the Elder
still
timing as
for
well.
Sniper. Insanity moving up, and with this next dragon, this Elder Dragon on the horizon, Team Ambition are now in the position where they can dot their I's and cross their T's and start quite literally executing people if they can just pick up this next Drake.
Yeah, the slight saving grace then here for 100 Thieves next is that the 2 lanes that have got inhibitors down are the 2 lanes that are focused around the dragon here. Will be easy to continually clear out those waves and then make your way to the Drake within a fairly prompt amount of time. The bad news is, we see those items come through. We've now got Serpent's Fang on the Z. We've got a Rabadon's for victory. Infinity Edge for Nightstar on this Jinx. If you were looking to take a fight as Team Ambition, now is the time to do it.
The hook ends up landing, though. Fnatic in the front line is still a good scenario, but a double knockup ends up landing from Chookies, keeping everybody at bay. Array and Insanity couldn't lay down the damage just yet. The package still very much available for Insanity. Around this dragon is a large prize. Decoy is thinking of using the ultimate, doesn't quite get the engage though, and now set quite low. Nemesis with the shield broken, maybe giving up this objective. It's all up to whether Andy can get inside the pit or not, because Sniper isn't here to take the fight.
They've both got TP though, top laners coming through. This set fight could be
Oh
huge
Lord,
here.
this is so massive. Fnatic though jumps over the wall to try and start the fight. Well, Anti jumps on top of Insanity. Insanity has gone golden in the meantime and manages to survive, but in comes Decoy from the side into the backline, picks up 2, and Sniper on the other side is left up creek, up river without a paddle. This Gwen is big, but is she big enough? I think not. Another hit lands, and Anti ends up picking up the kill. Sniper is down, and Insanity, the last one left alive. 400 Thieves cannot save this game.
No chance here. He's got to try and do as much wave clear as possible, but with double super creeps, another one coming through, and 4 members even of Team Ambition trying to tear you down. You have to imagine here that this Nexus, not long for the world. Team Ambition clapping back.
This is incredible to see from them, and as they end up taking the last hit on the Nexus for Game 2, a totally unexpected turn of events sends us to a 3-game series, where a lot of people would have come into this saying Team Ambition versus 100 Thieves may be a wash. Team Ambition saying nay. They are here to party, and Rudude, that looked so good from them.
It did, and it was these small draft changes that they've pulled out, okay? The late game scaling that they now have in their back pocket just makes their composition so much better here. They don't have a clock on their comp. They've got a slight front line as well to find those engages. Really impressed with Decoy. He did lose out or got solo killed once in the top lane after a slight misplay from not pressing Haymaker, but lost gracefully after that, was more than capable at being that teamfight presence that he needed to be, even in that last fight, getting the just about max range E on either side to collect 2 more members of 100 Thieves next and send them back to the grave as well. This weak side player did a very good job at doing exactly what his team want him to and be that presence in a team fight as well.
Yeah, he was just the bastion that we had spoken about before getting into these games, and with somebody like that who can play this set so confidently, I can't wait to see what kinds of stuff he pulls out in game 3, because to be able to group up with the team to lose gracefully against somebody the caliber of Sniper, it's just incredible, Rooted. I want to hear what our analyst desk has to say about that game, however, as we are going to toss it over to them before we jump into our third game.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on back to the desk. Okay, Ambition. Showing how ambitious they are. Taking a game off of 100 Thieves next tier. There are now no longer any teams that are undefeated inside of this circuit qualifier. That is fantastic to see. And man, oh man, Ambition did it with Zed Jungle. Styling and profiling.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to see from them. They've got the Zed Jungle comfort pick. It's really strong right now in that role as well. I'm really glad that they got to show up on this one and take a game off of that first seed in the first series as well. This is a bit of an unorthodox one to really break apart the Zed as well, but I think it really does show why this champion is so strong and why this team has been picking it so often in mid as well. They really like this champ.
Yeah, they absolutely do, but it just shows that like the way they were able to play around it, cleaned up their draft quite a bit. But Zoo, you were looking at the 100 Thieves draft over on the other side, and you weren't too big of a fan of some of the tools that they gave themselves inside this draft.
Yeah, I think when I was doing my prep for this series, the name of the game for me was, if I'm 100 Thieves and I'm on red side, it's eliminate good wave clear, eliminate easy to execute base champions that scale well into mid to late game where the enemy can flip a team fight on me. And, you know, when you're giving over Jinx Victor and you're doing an Ezreal Karma lane and a Corki lane with Xin Zhao to match, I feel like you have no pressure. You know, Dombre looked a bit uncomfortable on the range support. I actually feel like, you know, they're better suited for kind of picking more in-your-face sort of engage type champs, you know, things that can roam around with Fnatic. And then having a Xin Zhao, but then using counterpick on something a bit more scaling oriented like Corki, I feel like that kind of limits his ability to move around the map early. And, you know, as soon as you fall down in tempo and the Karma starts having to face check Nautilus and Zed and Victor, it's really hard to get any sort of control on the map. And you're going to get picked a few times, which is exactly what happened. And then, you know, Victor, Jinx just get the free scale. I think ultimately I would really like to see, if 100 Thieves chooses red side, I would really like to see or really like them to ban Victor, Caitlyn, and Karma. I feel like them taking Karma as a takeaway is not a viable strategy for them, and I would prefer them just to ban it. I heard they took blue side here, so I would still like them to either take the Victor, remove Karma, and, you know, just get themselves an AD that can punish and, you know, go from there. And, you know, kudos to Ambition for kind of cleaning up and kind of setting up their comp thematically for success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what they did. And I mean, they went with a little bit of a simpler is better, right? You were talking about on one side of the board, you know, taking the Karma and stuff like that didn't look that comfortable. Chookies looked really good on the Nautilus, right? Mm-hmm. It was roaming around, and they were using these tools to build up this this blade that they have in the name of Anti, who was looking sharp inside of this game, looking for those assassinations, having a lot of early game presence, moving around inside the map. And you'd love to see that from this. What we got here is Donbray not in the greatest spot.
Yeah, really sneaky positioning there for Anti, sets this one up, getting him first blood. And there's a lot of kills there for Anti for the rest of this game as well. He really did get the snowball going on an assassin, which is what you have to be able to do in a game like this. It's a bit easier against champions like Corki and Ezreal, both of which tend to hit their major power spikes on 3 items, whereas Zed, you really only need the Mythic to really get things going. So I think this ended up being a really just stellar way to start things off, and it led to them getting the first 3 Drakes very easily. And then the 4th one as well came from a really solid team fight too, which is instantly a mountain soul for this team. Super valuable setup, and it all came down to a pick like that and a lot of other picks that they were able to get on the Zed.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. And here's that fight you were just talking about here, I believe, as you can see that they're trying. 100 Thieves are trying to figure something out, but Zoo, looking at this, man, they just were able to find all the angles they needed to here. Looking at this Jinx.
Yeah, I mean,
plays really good.
These guys have like a situation here where, you know, both Dombre and Array have to hard focus the Zed, but then, you know, in a comp before where they had double assassins, not much scaling damage, maybe that would be enough for them to kind of stave off Team Ambition there. But when you have a Jinx Victor that are just free hitting in the backline as your Zed's taking all the aggro, then you're just going to end up with a ton more DPS, and you're going to be able to front to back all these team fights.
Lived on a prayer too, right? He got focused down as Zed had exhaust blown onto him and everything, still was able to manage to get out alive. So, I mean, Team Ambition, hey, look, when they get into their playstyle, when they get into the groove, they're able to showcase exactly what makes them a special team, what makes it to where they qualified here inside of the Proving Grounds circuit qualifier here. They were able to do this, and I'm just happy that they've been able to showcase a style that really benefits them, and it's going to be an interesting thing going into game 3. We're in a best of 3. We are going into a game number 3 where 100 Thieves got to kind of rethink their strategy because Ambition look like they're comfortable right now.
Yeah, it looked like 100 Thieves next got a little too cute with that game 2 with the trying to do a takeaway and try to do something maybe they're not used to. And then, you know, it was good on Team Ambition to just go to something that's simple, works thematically well together, synergizes, is able to get you into that mid to the late game. And really, for both sides, it's, you know, 100 Thieves next. It's like, all right, let's go back to what works with us. You know, if you're a 100 Thieves next fan, you're not too concerned. This is a bit of a slip up. And then if you're Ambition, it's like, all right, don't let this get too ahead of you. Don't try to go back to doing, you know, the cute stuff that you're doing in the first game. Just keep it nice and simple. It's not broken. Just keep going from there and just try to draft yourself like a pushing bot lane and some scaling damage.
Yeah, we're in a very unique situation where all these teams are very new to each other. They're very new to the patch and the new season as well. And it's just a lot of new things piling up on top of each other, new items, everything. And you really do need to go back to what is comfortable for your team and go back to those basics to get things started and get all these very crucial wins, as we are in the main event here for the Proving Grounds qualifier.
Yes, we are. This is the make or break. And real quick, I do want to just touch on, to add on to that, there's a lot of players here who this is their first foray into the competitive scene, right? And we got to see quite a few examples of that. Zoo, you went ahead and pointed out a couple of them. And Smats, you also saw a couple of them calling them out in the middle of that game where it's just like, oh, wait, why is Auntie dancing in the river? And then it's just like, wait, hold on, Sniper TPing in the top lane, nobody's there. There's like moments like that where you do get to see those weaknesses, that competitive experience that they do not have get showcased, and it's definitely one of those things. Seeing how they learn and seeing how they progress is going to be very important as the series continues.
And as the whole Proving Grounds tournament continues as well, we're going to see some more examples of that one, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just a learning curve to everything in League of Legends. So looking forward to them, surpassing that.
Okay. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send it over to a break. When we come back, game number 3 between 100 Thieves Nets and Team Ambition will be underway. So make sure you don't touch that browser, as we'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 on the horizon, and it's a Game 3 that has come about in the, what I want to say, most expected and least expected way. You tell somebody that Zed Jungle sent you to Game 3, and you go, what? But you tell somebody that Team Ambition played Zed Jungle, and you go, well, yeah, of course, that makes sense. And that's the beauty of the games that we've had in front of us today, Rudude. Seeing this Zed come to life, seeing Team Ambition come to life against 100 Thieves next, one of the strongest teams that we had expected to have so far, is already a gift quite early on in the season.
And I'm really happy to see it as well, because I talked about it in game 1 that there should have been a little bit of a reality check for 100 Thieves, that Team Ambition can go toe-to-toe with you early on. They showcased it with a composition that didn't quite scale as well into the late game. Game number 2, they come in, they make a few changes in the draft, they pick up the Victor, pick up the Jinx, and all of a sudden, that early game that they were able to snowball, or the early game that they were able to stabilize, keep themselves even, get themselves a little lead in, got snowballed into having Victor and Jinx at 3 items while your mid and AD carry were barely finishing their second, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that anticipation is, playing this Zed and, hey, he's diving into the backline getting exhausted, because guess what? We've now got 2 powerhouses of backline sources of damage that are just raining out on you, and you can't exhaust everybody, you can't withstand all of that damage, so they're more than capable of taking the game from them. And now we head into this game 3 where Team Ambition have shown what they can do, and if you give them the same draft again, they can take this series. 100 Thieves next hadn't lost a game coming into this series. Now they're on the brink of losing a series entirely. You tell that to somebody before coming into this series. The first seeded team versus what is one of our lower seeded teams here from the open qualifiers, taking them to a full game 3 series. Absolutely incredible.
And it's just it's just the first day. It's incredible to have this happening so early on. One of the things that was so incredible to watch just last game was the way that Nemesis played it out. I know that we could talk all day about anticipation and Shookies and how they turned that game on its head. And I tell you, Rudude, we will be doing that in just a minute. But before we do, I wanted to give huge props over to Nemesis, who was constantly finding a lot of farm angles throughout that game and ended up changing things. You talked about it yourself, the difference in items between Team Ambition's mid laner and 100 Thieves mid laner, between Team Ambition's AD carry and 100 Thieves AD carry. And a lot of this was propelled off the back that Nemesis was able to take side lanes into his own hands on this Victor that I hadn't really seen proven to me with this guy before. Nemesis very clearly is comfortable on this control mage, and if he's comfortable on this, if he can play the Yone as well across 2 different games, across one of the best teams that we have, surely the sky is the limit.
It really is. The depth in champion pool really does speak to how strong Team Ambition can be and how flexible they can be with their drafts as well. And I think that coming into this game, it's actually going to be Team Ambition on that red side, which just adds to your flexibleness, adds to the flexibility that you have with your comp. You can R5 something absolutely off the wall, and the enemy team can't do anything about it. There is no answer they can put down since you're the last pick in the draft. We are waiting on trying to get that draft underway. It will be not too short a time from now, but we've got plenty of time now to talk back on how Team Ambition came about that win. And I know that for myself, at the very least, Anti plus Chuckies, they were the 2 that just ran over that mid game. Anticipation started out the game very strong. He called for the resources, right? We saw on the bot side of the map, Nightstar got abandoned level 1. They walked into Fnatic's topside jungle, forced him off his red buff, took it for themselves, and said immediately, this said jungle is our powerhouse. He ran with that for the first 5-10 minutes and was able to find those leads. And then when we see Jinx just about capable enough, just about sustainable in her bot lane on her own, Chucky starts hopping out around Summoner's Rift, helps out his jungler, finding even more kills, even more leads, and pivotally starting those fights that wins them the game.
Landing so many hooks throughout the course of the past 25 minutes was so amazing. And it's happened on both sides now. It was really weird to watch this game, actually, because Chucky's was doing so well. And I still had echoes of Dawnbray doing so well on the Nautilus in my mind as well. And so we've seen this pick traded off twice now. And I suspect that in Game 3, we're going to see it picked up again. There may even be a small kerfuffle over it, because you and I both know, at least, that 100 Thieves have opted into having the first pick this time and have swapped into that blue side.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that we're going to see the B1 Nautilus come through, but that's certainly something that would be that'd be
Mark
fairly
my words.
entertaining, honestly. That'd be pretty cool, right? But either way, we know there is a lot of priority around the Nautilus pick, and I wonder who's going to get their hands on it because so far, like we say, has been game changing.
Yeah, and there have been so many picks like that, Zed, the Jace, that I'm expecting we will see, if not banned away, adapted to in this game. You've got the preview from us, and as you talked about, Rudude, we are just waiting on that little bit of a draft. So what we're going to do over here at Unified is we're going to take a very short break, make sure that all our players are set up, and then we'll be right back in with the draft of game number 3.
implemented a respect ban in the Karma in there, right? Just a little too much cohesion to the team. Really, the strong shield. You've still got the opportunity. If Duong Pro says, all right, I'm going to actually feed you, Vex. There has never really been a situation so far here where Duong Pro has been a mainstay in the mid lane, right? It's kind of a return back to the mid lane. Maybe I'll come help out, but it really has been focused towards the top side primarily. So I think if that adjustment was made, there's a lot of opportunity here for UCI to find themselves, not Well, that's definitely not a way to do things. Duong Pro having a couple of issues here with connecting. They're not going to fight an early first blood, sorry. But they are going to do a little bit of invading there, as we can see Duong Pro.
Okay, a pretty fast yoink of the red side, not only the red buff, but the Gromp from Duong Pro to put down the Viego a bit. Now going back to his own side, I think probably going to skip the Krugs, go right to the Raptors, and get back onto the blue side. And Duong Pro, again, just trying to enforce a little bit of willpower onto Iconic, making sure that he doesn't get into a rhythm in terms of jungling. Did that in game number 1 and game number 2 as well.
Yep. Iconic, of course, feels a lot better about this one, at least in saying, okay, I haven't been caught out in my own jungle, right? That has been an issue that has come about in the last match or two, and particularly that first one after the invade and then the move up towards the blue side.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I know you've been waiting a long time for this, and so we will hold it up no longer. Technical issues resolved. We now jump into the draft phase of 100 Thieves next versus Team Ambition. Game 3. If you've just gotten here, it has been 100 Thieves next win one game, Team Ambition win the next with a Zed jungle again, in case you missed it. So now, let's see how things change moving into Game 3.
And off the back of junglers just dominating in terms of what they want to accomplish and succeeding with it here, we have got ourselves a new draft though, dear. We'll have plenty of time to reminisce, but we have hopped straight on in so that we waste no time. And Zed has been banned away in a proving grounds closed circuit qualifier game. Incredible scenes, and a blue side Caitlyn ban as well here from 100 Thieves. I think that they're going to just stick to what they've been doing and what worked for them. 5 out of the 5 games in the open qualifiers, 6 here. They just put Array, potentially even on Jin here, keep him nice and safe, potentially take the Nautilus as well that we've seen be fairly high priority. Jinx ban on one side. It's all adding up here. You wanted a B1 Nautilus. I'm not sure we're going to get quite that level of priority. But, you know, the AD carries here have been pinched. We've still got a Phelios that exists. And actually, a Viego lock-in for Fnatic. He has been playing this Viego. He's already had 2 of the games in open qualifiers, but this is one of those champions that in team fights, in skirmishes as well, has a load of power because those resets, even post, pre-level 6 are great. Post-level 6 are undeniably powerful.
Yeah, I really like this pickup, and while it may not be the Nautilus of my dreams, it doesn't seem like Team Ambition are too focused on taking it away either. They end up locking in the Karmas. That's another champion that's been traded back and forth in the support role, despite the first 2 games not having too much in the way of good for her. Hecarim also being considered here, but Team Ambition are approaching this in a vastly different way than 100 Thieves next are, instead going for that long range and what looks like going for a bot lane quite early on, if their history is anything to go by.
Yeah, Nemesis can play this Syndra in the mid lane as well, but Nightstar's been picking up the Syndra a couple times already. And obviously 100 Thieves next going to be more than aware of this. The power of red side, of course, that Team Ambition now have for themselves is that they can save this right until the very end. Love the Leona pick up here for Dombre. Just exactly the sort of wheelhouse that we expect. If he ends up going out on roams, he's going to be doing more than enough in terms of the CC, the setup as well. Durability early stages is exactly what we hope to see from this support, and Jin for Array, couldn't have asked for anything better. Again, we've seen how strong he is on this weak side, allowing Sniper, Insanity and Fnatic to be the carry forces that are making the plays happen. And we saw it in game number 1 where he wasn't given particularly many resources, but he was able to do a lot with the little that he did get.
Yes, Talon as well. We are going back to tried and true, not just for 100 Thieves next, but for Team Ambition as well. This is looking a lot like game 1, with the notable exception, of course, of the Viego that started all of this. But now, moving into the second phase of bans, we're curious as to what gets taken away, especially by Team Ambition, who, well, would like to get themselves either a winning mid lane or winning top lane, but are likely going to have to pick between them before too long. And I like the way that they focus, at least at the moment, taking away things like the Aurelia that we already know Sniper can pop off on.
Exactly, just denying a few of those picks up in the top side. Yes, the Jace ban gets taken away once again as anticipated. Potentially another Riven to follow up here. What Team Ambition I'm a little bit cautious for is that they're falling into game 1 habits here. And remind you that they did lose game number 1. It wasn't pretty. They were able to go fairly toe-to-toe in the early stages, but they're missing some hardcore scaling aspects right now. 100 Thieves next, probably going to have, those traditional tried and true compositions on their side, but Team Ambition still needs to utilize some of these picks to get themselves that hardcore scaling aspect through. They can still easily transition this Syndra into the mid lane, pick up something like an Aphelios, which is going to scale very well with a Karma at his back pocket as well, trying to dish out the damage later on. But for now, I imagine just pick a top laner, save your flex pick here to keep you nice and safe, at least in this top side as well. Hopefully, Ornn fits right within that wheelhouse for Decoy. He's already played it once so far in the open qualifiers, takes it once again here, and now we get to see what Team Ambition get to do with that R5 pick. And most importantly now, dear, what does General Sniper want to take into this Ornn? Because there's a plethora of choices. Things like the Renekton and the Aatrox still exist, things that we've seen him play before. Could get even spicier if he fancies.
I actually really would like an Aatrox here. It would still give you a lot of the beef that 100 Thieves already have in spades, but at the same time, Corki, a very safe mid laner, will delay that choice just a little bit longer because mid lane was always going to be blind, and Corki is an excellent choice. This Tryndamere being hovered is getting me a little excited, and so is the Riven. And, oh god, Rudude, right now, it is all suspense, because if this gets locked in, it is 100 Thieves taking this game on with style. Even the Aatrox right now, an excellent choice. Does still give you those extra style points.
It does, and gives him, obviously, that really good laning phase versus an Ornn as well. You're very much expected to take the win here in this one. Yasuo comes through here. So this is just, again, another, and this is just flex picks. Like, they're not going to know until those, couple seconds are locked on in who's going to be going mid lane, who's going to be going bot lane. It looks like, at least I expect with TP, that your Syndra's going to be the one heading down to the bot lane. If you're taking Yasuo into a bot lane, you maybe want one of those combat summoner spells here for the duels that potentially could come through, particularly with a Jhin Leona. Lockdown is something that there is in abundance here, and the ability to wind wall Jhin, obviously something that you do, and obviously makes it very scary for the Jhin player as well, that he needs to be cognizant of making those force shots come through, and if you can get it past the wind wall more so than anything else.
Now, Yasuo into double marksman or into double ranged at all. Very, very high value. I like that we see it picked up, although I will say, Rudude, it's a little unorthodox. We don't see that much Yasuo played, especially not in situations like that where you don't have 18 knockups. You really only have Yasuo and Ornn. This isn't a composition built around the mid lane. This isn't one where Nemesis should be 1v9ing. So talk to me a little bit about this Yasuo, because we saw Yone in game 1. Why the change up?
I think that here you can actually do a very good job at taking trades up against Insanity as well here, using that sweeping blade, the either dash for Yasuo. You should never really get hit by phosphorus bombs. You can sort of dodge out on all of those rockets as well as we get later and later into the game. If you have a minion wave to work with, the Yasuo should be feeling fairly comfortable to try and take those trades. And if you have that winning lane, we talked amply about what Anticipation needs from his laners here. It's a stable place to play from. They're going to have pushing bot lane here with the Syndra and the Karma, so there's another avenue for Anticipation to use there. And if Nemesis can find success, then he's going to be able to facilitate Anticipation once more to be that carry force in the early stages that we know he can be. My concern here is on the Team Ambition side, because this is a very similar style composition that they ran in game number 1, and we've got some of the same pitfalls from that game 1 here in this game number 3, where again, if we look at the late game damage, it's coming from double melee sort of AD bruiser styles of, we're going to get maybe Death Dance and Sterax on this Talon, and then a Syndra who's going to have to deal with Aatrox, Viego, Leona, all jumping on them, and then you've got Karma and Ornn to be frontline / support. It's not the easiest composition for Team Ambition to execute, where 100 Thieves next, they've got just, again, incredibly standard double marksman, frontline in spades here. The Viego as a bruiser, the Aatrox as well is going to be causing so much chaos for the backline that just isn't matched on the Team Ambition side.
Now, question for you as well, because I'm looking at 100 Thieves next, and I see that Aatrox Viego that definitely warped this game, mostly since game 1. The Corki, the Jhin, and the Leona maintaining relatively the same roles. It's really the top side that 100 Thieves next has changed up. And a question that I have here is sort of, does this Aatrox specifically, and Viego secondarily, require that you build up some sort of grievous wounds moving into that late game, or should you be able to get away without them as Team Ambition?
Well, that's a very short answer, dear. Yes. You need grievous wounds. There we go. Case in point. Now, the beauty for Team Ambition is that Chukis can actually go into Chemtech Putrefier, and then that sort of eliminates the need for those fairly later on into the game, and you can tend to buy more statistically efficient items more so than anything else. Decoy most likely going to be opting toward a Bramble Vest as well, so you have that secondary source if you end up finding Fnatic and Sniper trying to wail on the Ornn in these team fights. Not supposed to be the case, but if it happens, there's that there as well.
Yeah, you gotta have that contingency plan, eh? And, well,
Yeah.
Contingency, safety, that's what both these teams are all about right now. 5-man spreads from both of them, with Anti just now hitting the map once more. Sweeper in hand is going to be starting up towards the top side, it seems, as will Fnatic. So both junglers seeming like they're going to be pathing down towards their bot lane, seeing if they can get a little bit started over there. And in this case, I really like the gank assist from both Dawnbray and Nightstar. Both these guys can provide a lot to their junglers.
They can. Stuns on demand, really. If you can line up that skill shot, you're able to lock up and allow for this Viego, for this Talon to get into your lane. A really good chance here that they've got a opportunity to sort of put them, there's a really good chance that they can put themselves here in a skirmish position. All right, the bot side fight really going to come through a lot for the junglers pathing down there.
Now, as we sort of try and figure out what the dynamic of the early game is going to be, one of the things that we've already talked about, but needs to, I think, be prefaced is going to be the fact that we've seen these two junglers dictate things very differently, but most of the time it's been Fnatic on somebody who is a little bit more enabling. One of my big curiosities moving into this game is on the Viego, who can make this game about him, whether he ends up taking that same route as the Jarvan as this ends out and trying to prop up his teammates, or whether he's a little bit more willing to call, like we've already seen Anti do in Game 2, for a few more of those resources that we already know Viego can make use of, with junglers matching each other early and with lanes that should be, I will say, relatively even until impacted by a jungler. A big part of this is going to be about who is the better early game shot caller and who can get away with those cheeky little advantages between Anti and Fnatic.
Yeah, and I think that if you've obviously got these laners that are taking these skirmishes, a lot of that does depend on a lot of your jungle.
I can't hear you, Rooted.
Oh,
This is
okay.
this is difficult. We're going to assume that Rooted is saying
fine.
very, very kind of things. I can kind of hear you. You're very, very quiet.
How about this? Okay. We're going to hope that everything's fine on your end, on this end as well. Beautiful. That's what we love to hear. But if you're talking about then what we're looking for from our junglers, you're talking about the micro or the macro shot calling here. We've got a fight already at level 1. Apologies for the technical delays or technical issues on my end, but it should be all fixed anyway. We're looking to see how these micro skirmishes, is what I wanted to be saying, how these trades are going, because that really does impact you and impact your ability as a jungler, right? You have this pushing, this winning lane down in the bot lane, all of a sudden you have free reign to go take the bot crab to potentially find a little bit more, as I think that's Zenith Blade connected.
And just like you say, those small trades, those small skirmishes ever being fished for by Dawnbray in the bot side. A lot safer on the Leona this time than he was on the Karma just last game. And as we've got a little bit of action up towards the top side as well, Sniper, who already had a huge difference made inside of Game 2 in the Gwen into Set matchup, now has the chance to do a very similar thing with the Aatrox into Ornn matchup. Yes, Ornn is always going to be useful, as we already saw Decoy prove to us in that Set Gwen matchup. Your tank will still be able to contribute massively, but the amount that Aatrox can get ahead can seem to be almost doubled in value, especially towards that mid game rather than the late game.
Yeah, Aatrox in the late game gets a little bit memed on because of quite how easy he can be to kite, and if we get these Karma Shields on at sort of 5-6 second cooldown, even the Syndra, who's fairly susceptible to being jumped upon, can become fairly easy to dodge out on those skill shots, dodge out on the Aatrox. But of course, this is Sniper piloting the Aatrox. We've seen him play it already in the open qualifiers, looked very comfortable, and once again here going to be looking to put it into good use from this top lane. And I like that you bring up Decoy, because he's been the rock of the top lane for Team Ambition, regardless of the composition they've been going for. I'm glad to see him back on a tank as opposed to the Karma, and that is the leading difference for me between their Game 1 draft and the Game 3 draft here. The Game 1 that they ended up losing, and now they've come into this game number 3 with a tank in the top lane for Decoy, something that he feels much more comfortable and much more at home with, and you can really tell that he feels what his role is when he plays these style of champions. The Karma potentially a little bit lost in the sort of what he's looking for, Well, on this on, he knows exactly where to be, exactly how to enable his teammates. And coming into those team fights, it's exactly what he wants to be doing.
Yeah, he's always been, or at least in the open qualifiers, about bringing that beef to the Rift, and now he's really got the chance to. Nightstar, taking a bit of an early recall, is trying to grab a little bit more wave clear as well, and is going to be able to come back to lane with the amplifying tome already. Shookie's on a roam as well, is looking for a bit of a play, while Anti ends up resetting in the mid lane. We're getting the building blocks of the mid game set up now, and nobody is setting them up harder than Sniper up here. Well, Decoy decides to trade back and gets a really nice bit on the Ornn. It is a battle of intimidation in the top side.
It really is. It's going to be scary for
Oh, another
Decoy.
one. Oh, he flash.
But what does this cost him? Now Snipe has no flash. Anticipation's here. Can Diego get there in time? It doesn't look like it.
No, Sniper shouldn't have the healing to go through this, and the cheeky early play does land a second knockup, but doesn't ultimately save him. Sniper looks good, but not good enough to survive the 1v2, and unfortunately for him, the lack of vision really came back to bite him.
I think it's more so the presence of Talon. He's able to cheat vision. You can see that there's a ward in the Tri-Brush. There's the Scuttle Crab may have just been taken, in fairness. But your ability to sort of hop over walls, cheat through the vision that has been put down. Yeah, that crab was there the entire time. So he's just able to hop over and take him down. Now Decoy, oh no.
This one we might be able to call a potential lack of vision. Decoy definitely not too happy right now, and Dombray's got that stun up one more time. Decoy, having burned the flash earlier, will go down, and while this doesn't end up assisting Sniper directly, what it does do is burn the teleport of his laner and ultimately put this Aatrox further and further ahead, while giving that kill over to Fnatic. It's a win-win for 100 Thieves.
Well, we have now got the Bramble Vest here over on the Ornn. So again, the smallest of sacrifices to be made for his own life right now. Chuki starts up the Raptors. It is all completely on vision. But as we get later and later into this game, then we touched on sort of the drawbacks that we imagine Team Ambition are going to fall into. 100 Thieves next have got this, once again, really strong, stable poke composition, along with a good source of engagements. The owner for Dombray should be able to get the engages going and then enable Fnatic and Sniper to pop World Ender, pop the Harrowed Path, and force your way into the backline. So we're hoping that, early game poke set up by Array.
Dawnbreak going forward there, does pop the Aftershock and the Eclipse at the same time, taking essentially 0 damage with what appears to be a Kale ultimate on a cooldown. I am by no means giving a lot of favor over to Leona's in this world. Rudude, that my dislike of Eclipse is very heavily rooted.
Yeah, I mean, you called it a Kale ult. Everybody can tell
Yeah.
you're not wrong. You're not like inherently incorrect, apart from the fact that you kind of are. Now, unfortunately, yeah.
Seems like this may not save you. Dawnbray, though, does dive forward, and Fnatic's taking his own fight, but he doesn't have the level 6 that Anti does, so he gets chunked out a little bit earlier. Stun comes in from Dawnbray, and 100 Thieves ultimately all right. Well, the play did not go in their favor. They didn't lose anything, and the counter gank was effective if Anti still might be able to get something over by the Dragon.
We didn't get to see it, but Flash forced in the mid lane as well by Insanity getting the better end of a trade in the mid lane here. So Nemesis hasn't got a Flash to his own name now, which could lead him to being fairly susceptible to being ganked. But a really good trade down on the bot side that does go the way of Team Ambition, able to force out Summon a Heal and the, force the back away really from 100 Thieves next between the jungle and the bot laners. And it's good to see these early skirmishes coming through for Team Ambition. If they want to win this game, they need to find those leads early. That's what we asked from them in game number 1. They weren't able to perform it. Game number 3 here, it's no different. We need to see them start trying to find these early leads, put themselves in a position where that late game scaling of the poke that comes through from Corki and Jin just isn't relevant.
At this point, it's extremely difficult for Team Ambition to find a way to pull that trigger unless they've got Decoy around. The lockdown just isn't present on most of their members, and that's where the teleport burned earlier, and honestly, the fact that it isn't unleashed just yet is going to be biting them ever so slightly. I'm waiting until we get over towards those dragons that Anti declined to take earlier for the team fights to really break out, but if you really want to, I wouldn't mind Team Ambition getting up towards this Rift Herald. were it not already started by Fnatic.
And mid-tier 1 has been a facet of these games that 100 Thieves Next have focused time and time again. Rift Herald is such an enabling factor at trying to take those down. Now Anticipation wants to try and stop this.
Get ulted on by Decoy, though, and instantly Sniper just gets deleted. Anticipation may have won the Rift Herald, but he got something much better as Nemesis. Looks like he's going to manage to get away. One more tick of the Ignite, not quite going to take him down, and the Missile not doing it either. Nightstar does get a really nice double stun, and now flashes over with the Unleashed Power, taking Insanity out. It's a single kill, but it evens up the kill scores for Team Ambition.
Nightstar with the really big roam, taking down Insanity, sort of alleviating a bit of that pressure from the mid lane. Nemesis has been having a pretty rough time of it there, has been keeping even in CS, but the trades, much worse stories to be told on that side. And Array down on the spot side as well, able to pretty much collect free farm and force himself to get at least an unanswered wave. You can see the defensive nature of this Jin's build path already. The Mercury Treads rush up against this double AP bot lane. Certainly going to be doing him a good service for now. We'll just wait till Nemesis and Anti get on him. Let's see how he feels about that then.
That one's going to be really rough. I am very curious about the way that Anti plays out fights on the Talon as well, since we already got the chance to see how he wanted to play it in Game 1. It didn't feel that great, but Game 2, he definitely demonstrated an ability to position on these assassin junglers that he's so proud of, and that at the very least has given me quite a bit of faith moving into this third and final game between these two titans. 100 Thieves Next and Team Ambition 1-1 right now, dead even in the gold, and Anti still looking for jungles, looking for jungle camps, looking for ganks, looking for any small advantage to convert those inches into miles.
Yeah, Nemesis here chunked to about 60% of HP, so this 2v2 going to be very difficult for Team Ambition. And I was about to say, guys, take a quick screenshot because we're, post 5 minutes and Dombre is still in the bot lane. That is not something that we've been too accustomed to, and already now looking to try and make these roams happen. This is sort of how 100 Thieves Next tend to generate their advantage. It's through overloading one side of the map, utilizing Dombre to do so, but he could be caught.
Yeah, right there. Last Whisper does chunk out the Leona, and a beautiful wind wall keeps an answer from coming back. Nemesis jumping forward instead with millions of shields on top of him. Gets those kills and gets away with the assist from Nightstar. A setup started by 100 Thieves Next turns into a dragon for Team Ambition.
Say what you will, Nemesis was absolutely styling right there, dip, duck, dodging and diving around Windwall placed to perfection. 100 Thieves Next couldn't get anywhere near him. He was on such a low HP total for the majority of the back end of that play, but he just lives, starting this one out at 60%. Yeah, I was thinking, okay, piling everything into the Eclipse Aftershock Leona, we've seen this one before, it doesn't tend to go well, but a really clutch exhaust from Chukis as well. Finds a knock up onto Fnatic, and there we have it, folks. He gets out to safety, the Triumph actually coming in as well, and once again, another good roam from Nightstar, puts himself into a position that helps out his team once again. One of those pitfalls that we've seen from 100 Thieves Next is that Array doesn't tend to roam out with the squad, tends to just make sure that he's safe for himself down on the bot side because he gets no resources, wants to absorb as much gold as possible. But Nightstar twice now has been more than willing to give up a wave, give up a little bit of territory in the bot lane to roam into the river and pick up a kill for himself.
And it's turned into so much for his team as well. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kills on the board for them. They couldn't be happier, and with plenty to fight over in the coming minutes, with Dragon up quite soon in the next few, we are going to get even more of a bloodbath across this game, and it's one that until now Team Ambition were in the driver's seat of. Will this Rift Herald change things?
4v4 in the mid lane, TP's not going to be able to be utilized. Oh, he has to flash. Okay, forcing that one out. Now we're going to get decoy basing, and whether he TP's up to the top lane or not may be fairly significant of what's going to happen. He actually calls for the Ornhorn and clears out the majority of that top wave here with it. Sniper not going to be able to finish this one off, but Fnatic's here nearby. Maybe could go for this dive. They're going to be denying something.
With Decoy absorbing so much pressure, though, we'll see what you can get for it. Right now, nobody's really in any position to do so, and there we go. Infernal Chain's going to come in, whipping Decoy right back into place, but no dive going to come through as Nemesis has started to walk up, and 100 Thieves choose that safe play instead, burning a lot of time up topside to ultimately not get that much.
3 versus 2 down on this bot side of the Rift as well. Insanity been locked in mid.
Now jumping back onto Donbray, and he should be able to get out, goes invisible, but gets stunned, gets slowed, and now will get stunned again. It is death for this Talon, as he can't do anything, but still does manage to burn that. Whoo, Lord! Heal from Array, getting out alive. 100 Thieves pick up yet another kill on a fight that Team Ambition started.
Array living with a slither of health right there. Red Smite, plus the red buff, plus the Talon Bleed, and Ignite as well. That was about 400-500 tick damage that came through after he was already dead. Really good utilization of the summon heal to keep himself alive there, and ultimately is a 1-for-0 on a slightly overextended Talon in the jungle. TP was expended by Sniper to get down into that bot lane, so that is a tool that is not going to be in their arsenal for the next 4 minutes or so. And potentially there's an opportunity to try and capitalize. We've seen currently that there was a little bit of focus toward this Aatrox in the top side. It was to get kills onto anticipation onto this Talon. You know, the Ornn still down in CS, but he's having a really good time, and we've seen once again how well Decoy can play from behind, just to be that tank player, the role player more so than anything else, and facilitate the team in team fights. So far for Team Ambition, we asked them to see if they could put themselves out in front, and they've started that. They're not quite as far ahead as I might like them to be, but they've got every stepping stone in place to start taking those leaps.
Yeah, I am loving the way that Team Ambition are playing this out right now, and it is slow, it is steady, but it's definitely yielding them a lot of results. Let's see that continue as we jump right back into this game. Now that we've got everything all updated, we'll get the chance to see how 100 Thieves, with the way they've been trying to wrestle this game back, continue forward, as it's been a tough one for them, but not one that they can afford to lose, Rudude.
And once again, right, this is obviously, as you mentioned, not a game that anybody was expecting 100 Thieves next to lose, but equally, it's not a game that they have to do particularly a lot in. Okay, a shotgun scatter doesn't quite come through right there, but Nightstar chunks out Array as he just gets back to the laning phase. But yeah, like I was saying, right, this is a composition for 100 Thieves. They don't need to win the game in the next 10 minutes or so. They have that scaling advantage. So for Team Ambition, the onus always going to be on them to try and make something happen, to force those leads, force those advantages. And at the moment, 1.5k gold in front, 1 dragon to their name as well. Next Herald is up for taking. We'll have to see if they can get any priority on that whatsoever.
And we've got just a few minutes now for 100 Thieves to be able to set up that vision that I know that we've spoken of, especially in Game 1. But that time, it was on the side of Team Ambition. They needed to be the ones tracking Fnatic. With 100 Thieves now ever so slightly on the back foot, it is they that need to be putting in that deep vision. And they, at the same time, that don't have a whole lot of it right now. A little bit of exclusive vision around this Rift Herald will mean the Fnatic gets to pick this one up. This time, not costing Sniper his life. Let's see where it goes.
Mid lane tier 1, as we've said time and time again, has been the breaking point for 100 Thieves next. It is what's facilitated them and let them take their win in game number 1. It's what also set them up to look good for the mid stages of game number 2, and I expect that during game number 3 here, their priorities will be no different. Now looking to see if they can force this mid lane turret down. 1 Herald charge will do the job. With 4 people here, they're
the
going!
flash from Donbury changes everything. The flank from Sniper does so as well, but Nightstar still survives for so long, finally going down. Zanti enters the fight, instantly gets CC'd, and is being chased down by the very same folks that started this fight. When Insanity, when a Corki is chasing a Talon, you know things have gone horribly wrong, as they have just now for Team Ambition.
The whole purpose of this Ornn Yasuo composition is to find these team fights as well, but Yasuo's not their nemesis. Wasn't ready in position. He's taking the Ignite this time round and not the teleport, so he can't find those big engages, and it leaves Anti to be the solo diver in this exchange. And ultimately they lose out on the fight. They lose out on their mid lane tier 1 as well. They do manage to pick up a Constellation Dragon, but unfortunately for them, they've low-rolled the Soul here. Cloud Soul not anywhere near the powerhouse that any of the others would be.
Sniper jumping over the wall now will find it difficult to catch Anti, who can jump over just as many walls, if not more. So as Talon gets out to safety with a little bit of extra gold, it's more of a, hey, I knew you were there, and don't you mess with me, than anything else from Sniper. sitting at 145 CS right now. This Aatrox has had a great laning phase so far, but it's just now started to convert things, and does need to be a lot more of what we just saw in the mid lane if Sniper wants to have the impact that we know he can on this game.
2 Drakes already secured for Team Ambition. If they can work their way toward that soul quickly, they're going to be wanting to take an Elder pretty soon, since that is their best route toward a win condition. Also just trying to fight for vision.
Instant lockup, more lockup, stun after stun after stun, and Nightstar just cannot play the game. He gets taken out in the mid lane, and though there's no objective to get for it instantly, why not just follow it up with even more lockdown?
Go for all the fights that they can get right here. That pick started off of a captive audience. The small traps that Jhin can place around Summoner's Rift slows up Nightstar. He finds the Deadly Flourish, and really well capitalized on by Dombre. Wastes no time firing off that solar flare. Now Decoy could be in a lot of trouble up on this top side.
Gives Anti with no time himself to be able to keep his Krug safe, be able to keep his top lane safe, and for that singular pick that we saw go off in the mid lane, they end up losing so much more. An extra jungle camp as well as a top lane tower, but now Insanity in trouble. Manages to just barely Valkyrie out. Dawnbreak getting knocked up though, does start to warp this game as he pops the Eclipse, and will buy quite a bit of time before ultimately going down. Nemesis being the one, I suppose, to collect the kill.
Certainly looks that way. Finally collects it. He tried to use Last Breath as a taxi there, but a really good stun from Dombre just the second that he landed means that the Insanity also able to get out to safety here. A lot of overloading in this top lane right now is giving Sniper a lot of free time to take this turret and take a lot of gold as well on the other side of Summoner's Rift. And this Aatrox, like we've said, as the game gets later and later, or as we get into the mid-game really, he's going to have an absolute powerhouse of team fighting. But further on than that, may start to struggle. So we're starting to reach the peaks, the pinnacles of when an Aatrox will be, super useful in these exchanges. But obviously this Corki and this Jhin surviving, living to fight another day, and not the ones being slain. They can continue to farm, continue to scale up, and Nemesis here, he's still got ult.
Could be pretty dangerous. Knockup does land, but ultimately Insanity is able to survive through some miracle, dude. Keeping that mid lane tower up, 100 Thieves keep that additional pressure that they had as well, and with all the outer turrets gone from Team Ambition, there's not really a whole lot of safety available for Nemesis to step up with. Chookies is going to be roaming around with Nightstar, keeping him safe, making sure the waves can be cleared, but the side lane is what it is all about for Team Ambition to get even more gold on this Yasuo.
I wonder if they'll start to match the Yasuo up against the Aatrox and start to take those, pretty much just an ego duel, unfortunately. No executioners on the Yasuo just yet, so those 1v1s are not going to be particularly easy to take with the amount of healing that Sniper can absorb. And if you find the wave there, the Yasuo may well still come out on top. But the power of side laning here with this talent in your squad, just how versatile he can get to Summoner's Rift.
Knockup, we got a Last Breath, we might have a solo kill, but Insanity is sidestepping after sidestepping and does it again! This guy's shoes are insane as he dances around Nemesis, pulls in Decoy, and ends up serving up a second kill to his squad. This Ornn is not long for the world, and as Fnatic grabs that kill, Baron may very well be on the table.
A small part of me thought that Insanity would live there, but 100 Thieves get rewarded here for the commitment onto their mid laner, able to collect on 2 of the solo laner bounties here. Not really. This is okay. Nemesis starts off well, gets himself the knockup, sustains it, gets a nice blade, blade as well, and yeah, Insanity 2 Qs dodged, third ulti there. Unfortunately, Bellows Breath pseudo targeted, unfortunately, toward the Corki, and then obviously it is going to be Decoy just getting whittled down on. No Baron taken as a consequence of this. Does mean that there's still more than a hope here for Team Ambition. Gold pretty much even. These Drakes now starting to be stacked up. It's 100 Thieves that have got priority, and with Nemesis up in that top lane, there is little to no answer here for Team Ambition. Happily sacrificing this in exchange for trying to put more resources into their mid laner. We're yet to see the Ornn Yasuo combo fully used, but when it happens, dear, I expect explosive team fights to happen.
Yeah, and it's got to be really the difference maker for Team Ambition. If they're getting the Ornn Yasuo combo onto one or two members of the backline, sure, they can win the fight. And if they're not, I'm sorry, but it's looking really difficult at this point. 100 Thieves are more than happy to take these front to backs. They opt into another one right now. Insanity cuts the fight in half and instantly gets exhausted with that package. But even so, it isn't enough as Anti gets deleted. Shookies follows, and Donbray, who knows no breaks, continues to jump forward, ultimately signing the death warrant of Nightstar, who, though he went golden, could not survive that fight.
Dear, just as I mentioned, the way that Team Ambition needs to take the team fight, they do the exact opposite. Ornn and Yasuo in side lanes, not ready to join the team as they go for a wander through the 100 Thieves next jungle. They get punished, and they are going to lose the Baron because of it here. Nothing to stop their 100x roster from taking down the big purple worm and putting themselves now in a very good spot. Let's take another look at this, because Donbray, blind E into the brush, more than capable at taking that. Insanity with a package is shredding through Anti, and Insanity's Immortal Shield bow actually doing a great amount of work there, keeping him alive. A great pick, a great execution from the 100x squad, and they are well rewarded.
Donbray is such a god on initiators, by the way. I want to see this for the rest of my life. I want to keep having this guy show up with the Nautilus, with the Leona, because the engages that he is finding are incredible. I honestly almost wish that Shookies had a Nautilus himself this game so that we could see these two big engagers trading back and forth, but as it is, it has just been Donbray's time to shine, and it may very well be again as he pops that Eclipse in the front line, burning the ultimate from Anti and keeping everybody behind him safe as 100 Thieves next set up their incoming push in not one but two lanes.
Yeah, Shadow Assault is a fairly short cooldown, so it's not the worst case scenario here for Anti to have to pop that ult and keep himself safe. Much more valuable than being dead, obviously. But with that Baron working two lanes, they are now transitioning their way through the top side and controlling that vision that we talked about. There's a distinctive line on both sides. Let's start fishing here, try and find an engage. Let's see this Ornn Yasuo combo. Let's group up as 5 Team Ambition. Give us the team fight that we've been longing for right now. See if they can put themselves out in lead.
Oh no, Anti goes on the hunt, but he didn't have the ultimate up just yet. Donbray locks him down. Fnatic takes him out, and now top lane tier 2 all but gone. Mid lane tier 2 sure to follow if it isn't gone already. 100 Thieves next get themselves so much more gold, and now so much more map pressure to continue with as well.
How do they generate leads, dear? It is by choking out the vision. Donbray sneaks into a pocket where they don't know. He is able to quickly stun up Anti. The damage through from Fnatic finishes off the job. Wonderwall is going to save this mid tier 3 for the time being, but one more wave to come through. You expect that one will fall. Now with Fnatic sort of posturing aggressively here, this top tier 3 as well, vastly under siege. 100 Thieves next, they've done a very good job at finding themselves a chokehold, an avenue here into the base. They've not been able to crack it open though, and for now, Team Ambition's base stands strong. They have still got this opportunity, 2 items on the Ornn, 2 items on your Yasuo. We're waiting for that Infinity Edge to come through, dear, but it is a long way away.
It is a very tall order to be able to keep this Yasuo alive until such a point that he can do the dirty, dirty things that we know he can. With Anti trying to farm up in the side lane, resources are coming at a premium as well, Rudude, and that's the very difficult thing about late game scenarios where you find yourself behind. Because yes, Anti wants gold, Nightstar wants gold, Nemesis wants gold, with 3 different people and not nearly enough lanes to access. Somebody from Team Ambition is going to suffer.
And typically that falls to your jungler, but we know what Team Ambition value more so than anything else, and it is this Talon and how much his damage will be providing to the squad. Now, of course, with another Drake spawning in about 20 seconds, all attention has been removed from Team Ambition's base, and it looks like 100 Thieves next are just going to focus on getting themselves a little bit of extra movement speed here out of combat. for the most part, which just enables them once again, A, to sort of avoid the Talon, but B, to get from lane A to lane B, particularly when they're going for these picks.
Bray once again
Okay.
starting
All
things
right.
off with the solar flare and the threat of Array as well with that deadly flourish. Keeps everybody at bay. It's very, very scary to have so much lockdown on a team. And at this point, with Chucky's being flashless, even with no Baron, 100 Thieves next are going to start walking this one in. You've got the push going off in bot lane with Nemesis taking a tower up there. Insanity runs to meet him. Let's see what happens towards this bot side.
Oh, huge scatter actually prevents the engage coming through and package into the top lane.
See
Okay,
if
I
this
think
fight
that
goes
they're
well.
just-
Seems like they're okay for right now. I'm looking at the health bars. Nemesis is a little bit low. Dragon gonna continue falling, but take a look at the bottom left of your screen, and oh my lord! Nemesis almost manages to take that fight as there's a teleport just down to the bot lane one more time. Nightstar wants to finish off Insanity, and he will, burning the ultimate to do so. So it is gonna be a 1-for-1, but I would still give the edge over to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they collect themselves the objective, and that's the most important part. Nightstar may not even be out right now. Chucky's is here trying to save him, but he may well be sacrificing himself as well.
Sniper just needs the single knock-up. Turns away, though, with that World Ender
Oh.
burning. It seems like in the meantime, we've got a cheeky assassination from Anti, who has managed to take down Array, but he does go down himself as well. Yet another 1-for-1, hitting the Rift, and Fnatic looking for ever so slightly more. Thought about going on to Nightstar, and popped right back out with the Heartbreaker, knowing that 100 Thieves need to find a reset, need to start their own plays again as one.
Crucial timing here for this 1-for-1 though. Anti dead whilst the Baron is about to come through. It's about a minute away from spawning, and this is that little pick. Anti, see? He gets a little pocket of vision
Oh my god.
and just walks on through. Yeah, even with Gale Force, even with Zhonya's. And the flash from Dombre. They expend so much to try and keep him alive, but the Rake finishes him off. He knows he's suiciding himself to death, but taking out an AD carry in these late game instances, honestly, very valuable.
I respect it. I actually really like the move from Anti there, and I like how hard 100 Thieves tried, because they know just as well as we do how valuable Array's life is and how important it is to keep Anti down when they can. Now with no stopwatch available on either Array or Insanity, both these carries are vulnerable to the burst of this Talon, and tracking him is going to be one of 100 Thieves' #1 priorities as they now approach the Baron as their next objective they'd like to take.
Baron is really hard for 100 Thieves here, because if they stand there as like 5 members, it just lines up Decoy, lines up Nemesis to start off that fight that they've been so longing for the longest time here. The good thing is for 100 Thieves next is that they've got things like Valkyrie and Gale Force, so dodging out on Ornn ult isn't going to be the most difficult thing for them that you may have anticipated, and it's sort of a 50-50 here if you want to utilize those cooldowns to dodge out on that engage, which you know, by the way, decidedly do. You then no longer have them for a skirmish that could come through, and then you still have the things like decoys, searing charge, for example, to try and find an engage with. Playing little vision wars right now. Anti jumps over.
I really like the Orange Horn to try and follow this up, but unfortunately for Team Ambition, it isn't gonna connect, and that, at the very least, may buy them space, but won't buy them a one-team fight, at least not on their terms. Their form of lockdown is now gone, and Dawnbray, the form of lockdown for 100 Thieves next. He is on a line, jumping forward, leaving Sniper in the front line, but a last breath takes Nemesis directly on top of Insanity. Flash over the wall from him keeps him alive, but now Dawnbray is all alone and does manage to go down as Fnatic and Sniper rejoin the fight in the river. However, it is 100 Thieves that surround Team Ambition and take themselves yet another kill up towards the top side as Decoy seems to be going low, and Nemesis is sure to die here.
Dombre finding engage after engage here. He picks
doesn't
off the
die.
enemy bot
He doesn't die.
laner. Wait,
Sorry,
he did
continue,
die.
continue.
He did die, dear.
Nemesis
Okay.
doesn't die.
Oh, Nemesis doesn't die. Fortunately enough, they've chased him away from the Baron right now, and that should be the prize. Anti did die. There is no jungler ready to steal this one. Another engage started off by the 100 Thieves support. It does make you wonder, dear, why we've had Karma Prio.
He tried, didn't quite get it, and now, well, The Chucky's not quite able to lock down Sniper either. 100 Thieves get away with the Baron. With the, I'll say, one team fight pretty darn convincingly. And now with this, should be able to move themselves into the base. It has been a remarkable past couple minutes from 100 Thieves. And nothing impressing me more than the way that they managed that Baron fight.
Yeah, just meticulous in their approach, honestly. The way that they can just solo out specific targets. And I have to keep praising Dombre, because on the Nautilus game in game number 1, he was finding those engages. Leo now, somebody steps a millimeter too far forward, a hair out of line. Thank you very much. That's Leona ulti. I don't care if you've got Crown of the Shattered Queen. I've got CC that lasts for just as long, and I've got a team ready at my back, ready to jump on forward, take you down as soon as that one drops off. That damage mitigation doesn't last forever, and the second that it goes away, you already know that 100 Thieves next day are more than ready to pounce. Zhonya's be damned, he's not able to survive that one. That's one of those solar flares that you just have to flash immediately. It feels rough to flash a random ulti, but you just have to. It's the only way to live, and unfortunately, now we're seeing the repercussions of that team ambition. They've lost out on the Baron now, they lost out on a couple kills extra, and this game, in case it wasn't hard enough in this late game stage, is now even more difficult because they've got to battle up against super minions when their wave clear is suboptimal at best, and deal with the ever-present threat of a late game Corki and a late game Jhin.
We see how scary these late games are on everybody as well. From Dawnbray being able to constantly try and find engages, to Insanity being able to pump out, well, insane amounts of damage. Nemesis is doing God's work as well, forcing flashes left and right with the mobility and the knockups that Decoy is providing him. It's really incredible to see how much these singular picks can change fights, but it does seem like in the extended fights, things are going in the way of 100 Thieves next, especially with the sustain that they're afforded by a Sniper and Fnatic in this front line. We're going to get to see what we're expecting to be the last few minutes of this game, one way or another, play out right in front of us, though, as we've got Dragon coming up in just a minute.
Guardian Angel now online for Array as well. He is prioritizing his life at all costs here. The damage from this Jhin, honestly, not too palpable. I'll be honest, this is a very low damage build that we've got here. Maybe able to slightly chew through the Ornn, but other than that, we're looking at a Corki carry type situation. Fnatic and Sniper have also been absolutely revolutionary here in this third game, just pumping out the DPS onto front line and back line alike. Drake going to be spawning in a couple of seconds here, less than 20. That's the Cloud Soul going over. Not Cloud Soul, Cloud Soul Point rather, going over to whoever gets it. We imagine it'll be 100 Thieves next. And Insanity spares no time with the package in his back pocket, just in case there happens to be a contest. Let's wait and see whether or not he's going to use it to try and find another play.
I like that he ends up going for it. Now gets back to his team just in the nick of time. Sniper splitting the lane right now, just close enough to 100 Thieves next to join them. Should a fight break out, as Nemesis searches for engages as often as he can. Team Ambition are in a position that 100 Thieves themselves know quite well from last game, the time where you have to fight or die inside of your base because Baron is choking you out.
3 cannon minions wailing away on this bot lane turret, and Decoy, the poor little Ornn that can't, unfortunately, he's just going to have to tank these ones up, whilst the rest of 100 Thieves are taking the mid lane turret as well. Absolutely brutal defense right now, but for the time being, they've done it. The Baron is still going to be up for a few more seconds, and they're probably going to get another couple of pushes on. Finally, the mid one falls, and there goes the engage immediately.
All right, well, Ornhorn not going to connect. Actually, is going to connect onto one, and it's onto Array of all people. Guardian Angel still available as he gets popped right into that. Insanity deletes Anti on the other side, but now Nemesis is on top of him. Pops yet another Guardian Angel. This Yasuo is styling in the back line, but he finally gets taken down. And with Sniper, Fnatic, and Dawnbray constantly running forward, finding kill after kill, the bullets from Jhin soon to herald the end of yet another game, and 100 Thieves ascent to victory in the very first series here.
That is just the difference between the later stages of Yasuo and Talon. They're trying so hard, playing this fight so incredibly well here. The durability from Array, the shield bow from Insanity. They're going to be able to take down the Nexus here, put themselves 1-0 on a series record here, but the series delivered far more than we were expecting.
Decoy takes so much damage. It is hilarity at the end, but ultimately, it is a 100 Thieves victory. That was not something that I would say that I could have even said confidently going into this game, though, and even up until the 15-minute mark, things still seemed iffy. Team Ambition may ultimately have fallen, but they looked so good.
They did. This has been a revolutionary series for them, honestly, because coming into this one, I think that I would put 90% of people saying that this is going to be a 2-0 to 100 Thieves next, pretty much without a doubt. Maybe some doubters that give them a game here that they've ended up taking, but they have looked good in all 3 games, right? There were positive points to take from all of them, and a real showcase to 100 Thieves next that these up-and-coming new teams in the Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier are all here to stay. They're all here to try and take you down because you've put a target on your head going 5-0 in the open qualifiers. Everybody's that much more motivated to take you down.
Yeah, there was so much going on in these games, from adaptations to niche playstyles that Team Ambition had, to even 100 Thieves Next still figuring out exactly where and when they are strong. We saw sort of Insanity step up in really big ways during these games, but it was Donbray that really wowed me. I was looking at Fnatic and him during our sort of preparatory stages going into today and going, it seems like 100 Thieves Next have this jungle support focus that spearheads them, but it was emphasis on support, especially during that last game where Donbray was starting and ending so many fights. Let's see what our desk has to think about it, as we'll be right back with another series after we hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Dia and Rude Dude, for casting a fantastic series there between 100 Thieves Nets and Team Ambition. 100 Thieves Nets were able to stand out on top, and gentlemen, we were talking a lot during that game about how everything was going, some of the chaos that we saw inside of the draft. So go ahead and walk me through some of your thoughts, because this draft has been a hot topic for us.
Yeah, I'm not mad, man. I'm just disappointed. Like, why did you, game 1, you get outclassed by playing like AP, AP bot and then AD mid. And, it does not synergize well together. Like, fundamentally, these champions don't help each other with what they want to be doing in the game. And, game 2, you go to something more traditional. It works out fantastic for you. You play great on it. You're able to take a game from the number 1 seed. And then going into game 3, you just go back to what didn't work. And, I just feel like while there was definitely some hiccups from 100 Thieves, maybe losing a little bit of composure there in the early game, reaching for some stuff. Like, I just imagine if you had a composition that might be a bit more set up for success, then you might have been able to carry that lead into something more sustainable in game 3.
Yeah, the big thing that I see when I look at this draft, and Zoo and I you and I both know we were talking about this a lot in the game, but
Yeah.
when you first pick an enchanter, you really do need to look at what champions work well with this and can actually be enchanted by them and be empowered to work, because not all enchanters work the same way. When you have a champion like Karma, who can play sort of in the mid-range, you have the big AoE shields. You want to have a team composition that groups up a lot, that you can use the big AoE shield and AoE movement speed really well. Something like Sivir works really well with that because you play at the same range. That's not what this comp does at all. You've got 3 melee champions, one of which is flanking from like over a wall, and then you have Syndra as well, which doesn't really use the movement speed all that well either. And you look at what other enchanters could work here. Maybe something like a Yuumi, you could strap onto that Talon and, take a ride over the walls and actually get all of your shields and heals off onto your carries. Karma just doesn't do that in this composition, and I think that's something that people sort of have as a misconception about enchanters. They're not all the same. They do actually do different things and at different ranges as well. It's something you have to look at when you first pick an enchanter.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it comes down to the fact that, like you said, it's easy for everybody to look, enchanter. Yes, I know what this does. Shields and heals, that's it. That's all they do. They do the same thing, but no, each one of them have a very unique thing that they're able to do very well. And unfortunately for Team Ambition, they didn't able to get that. They had a good showing inside of the series, especially inside of game number 2, but they did fall to 100 Thieves Nets. And 100 Thieves Nets, one of the things I do have to go ahead and compliment them on is when they were able to grab the lead for themselves, all of us here on the desk were like, all right, 100 Thieves does not let go of the pressure from here. And they know exactly to keep the foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah, 100%. It showed throughout. It showed throughout the series that 100 Thieves next. Even in past VODs, looking back through these qualifiers, like this team does a pretty decent job of maintaining control once they're ahead. Maybe the speed of how they close could have a little bit of work, but overall they do a really good job. But both of these teams definitely struggle from playing from behind. And so once 100 Thieves is able to take control back, they made some great plays to get back into the game. It's just kind of smooth sailing from there for them.
Absolutely. And I want to hype something up real quick, right? We're on the desk over here on the Academy stream. Over on the other stream, there was Golden Guardians Academy taking on UCI Ivern, that number 2 seeded team. Over here, we had the number 1 seeded team in the 100 Thieves Nets. Both of them dropped a game to the 15th and 16th seed here inside the first day after open qualifiers. This is looking like these groups are very competitive and is looking very interesting going forward with the next couple games. We still got more games on our hands here, and it's so exciting to start off your day with just those kind of upsets coming at you.
No. I mean, we've got more games tonight as well on both channels, so definitely get excited for this tournament. It's only the beginning. We got a bunch of other upsets that I'm sure are coming. Not just the single games. I'm sure we're going to get some that are just the entire series.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited to see what that is going to look like. We do have, I believe we are going to have Fnatic for an interview coming up here. But before we go, we will be parting with our absolute Giga Brain guest here. Zoo was over here off stream predicting everything in Champ Slits. And the dude's
Yeah, I was
brain-
begging for that. I was just saying, just slam Jin Leona like B2, B3, please, and follow it up with an Aatrox and the Ornn, man. They had the recipe, it was good on them, but it's definitely a lot of chatter behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout outs to Zoo, man. Appreciate you for coming in and being our guest here tonight. If you guys want to go ahead and follow him, his @ is right underneath his portrait there. So yeah, we're going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves ready for a interview with Fnatic. So make sure to stay tuned.
Do you hear my calling? I'm up in the morning. I guess I miss you yawning. 5 in the morning.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Proving Ground Circuit. I am joined here with Fnatic, jungler for 100 Thieves Next. First and foremost, Fnatic, you guys just came off of a tough series there. I think a lot of people were looking at it saying, all right, the first seed versus 16th seed. You guys had to play against a very interesting matchup, an interesting team here in Ambition. How you feel after coming out of that game?
It's definitely a reality check, that we gotta take every opponent seriously and not just be too cocky, because this was way too close than it should have been.
Yeah, and you guys had to deal with somebody who was very interesting. I want to kind of look into this jungle matchup because I think a lot of people were hyped on Anti over on the other side of the table from you guys. How did it feel against going against somebody who's wanting to pick all these assassins, especially in your past experience, having to deal with Talons and Zeds inside the jungle world?
For sure. I mean, it's very different, as I said. I think we didn't have the best prep coming into today. I think they surprised us with a lot of stuff. And I think it's definitely always just reality check, really.
And it's your first best of three with this team, right? This combination of players. Of course, there's some players in the roster that you have played with in the past, so it's good to have that level of comfort. How are comms kind of going with the bit of chaos that was going on, especially with some of the things that were catching y'all off guard?
I think we're just normal, and I think the main thing is, they feel a lot of stress in the game 3 compared to the other games, but I think we're very confident. I think we all know that we're the better team, and as long as we play our game, we should win.
Yeah. So this was game, like you said earlier, kind of revisiting a point. Said it was a little bit of a reality check for you guys. So you guys like looking at the next couple of games, and you guys are like, all right, we're gonna have to bunker down, get ourselves prepped up and ready to go. Are you guys aiming to just not drop another game after this point? What's the goals looking like?
I think I'll speak, I think, from everyone in our team. I think, we're all aiming, I think the amateur teams, we're just aiming at the academy teams. I think we've got the roster to do it. And as long as we play our game, I think we should be pretty good.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. All right. Well, with that being said, man, I mean, I want to hit one more point here. You guys have General Sniper over there in the top lane, a very hyped prospect that a lot of people have been looking into. How's it feel being the having this young, new, fresh blood over there inside the top lane for yourself?
I think it's really nice. I think sorry, especially when there's a new player, there's always a lot of energy. They're always excited. They always want to improve. So it's very nice to have him with us, because I think some of our players are more experienced. So it's this we're just doing this again. But having a pretty nice, very talented player. So glad to have him on my team.
Yeah, not on the opposite side, right?
Yeah.
The CSD was pretty insane throughout the games, and he's very aggressive, and rightfully so. With that being said, Fnatic, do you have anything you would like to say to any fans of 100 Thieves Nets that were coming out here? We had a lot of people inside of Twitch chat saying, all right, 100 Thieves is playing. All right, I'm in. I'm sold. Let me see what you got for any fans, and any fans of yourself as well.
I think thanks for supporting me. I think my career has been, a lot of up and downs, at least coming from 2019. But I want to thank our teams. I think they've been a really good org for the time I've been part of. So,
absolutely, man. Well, look, I'm looking forward to more ups to come up here as you guys got more games to play throughout the weeks and getting yourselves ready to make yourselves through. So thank you yet again for coming in for this interview here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and send it over to a short break. When we come back, we are going to be going into our next series. So make sure you don't touch that browser as we'll be back.